I'm missing something. Oh. There we go. All set. Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good day. Howdy, howdy. Welcome, welcome, everybody. Smokey subscribing for 4 months, being on a 4-month streak. Thanks so much. I appreciate you being here for so long. I don't look like a Sam. Sorry. Apologies. All right, let's let some people trickle in. We'll get started soon. Oh, this is covering up the Discord link. Oops. Wait. Ah. This is what I get for having a cheap mic stand. All right, let's bring up our first guest even. Let's talk to Ratman. Ratman, how's it going?
Good.
Howdy. Are you currently outside in like a Category 5 hurricane?
No.
And Ratman, how old are you?
I'm 18.
What year were you born?
2008. What? Wait, 1 second.
I mean, he said it really quick, so he's probably not lying, but he does sound young, right? Not crazy. All right, Ratman, what do you have for me?
I agree with you. I just wanted to come up here. Bye.
Okay, bye. Then why would you? He was really quick with the year. Yeah, but he didn't even want to come up, so like it's not a big deal. But hey, we just got another member on YouTube. Matt Lloyd, welcome to 1. I did not sleep well again. My cat was crazy this morning, and I went to bed late. That's my fault. Howdy, howdy. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome. Bridget, Overwatch 1 is or it's Brigitte, I'm sorry. Overwatch 1 is a female god. True. Very true. What's her kitty's name? Her name used to be Evelyn, but now it's Evelyn. Because she's evil. Of course it's easy to fake your age, but most people aren't particularly quick. Is that handsome Squidward? No. It's anime Squidward. Anime SpongeBob, actually. So does evil exist? It depends on what you mean by evil, I guess. From Matt Lloyd with the 10... oh, 10 pounds. Didn't even realize I wasn't a member in here. I think I'm on TikTok, but I prefer YouTube for the chats and stuff. Hope you have an awesome life. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. Second puberty, yeah, this does happen usually for an adult human male at 33 years of age. It's quite typical. But unfortunately, I did have like a bloody nose while I was showering this morning. That wasn't fun. Let's talk to Crusader Knight. I feel like I've spoken with Crusader Knight before. Crusader Knight, have we spoken before?
Oh yeah, it's been a while.
Okay, well, what do you want to talk about today?
Oh, just had a quick question. Since
I remember
um
you.
yeah, since you're so confident,
Hmm.
uh, how do you know that we landed on the moon? How do you know what's going on in Area 51?
I don't see how those questions are related to each other or to the topic.
Oh, I'm just kidding. Well, I think the Area 51 and the moon landing are related.
Why do you think that?
um, because we could be skeptical, but not confident. Like you sound a little too
Well, no, I
confident.
mean, you said that you think that they're related. Why would anybody think that?
Related because the conspiracy theories. You don't know what we don't know what's going on in Area 51.
Okay, that's not a reason to be confident. That's not even a reason to believe that they're related to each other. Like, you could say that Area 51 is related to, like, you know, the volcanic eruption of, 1885. And, like, you don't know what's happening at Area 51, so maybe they're related. Like, it's just not related, right? Why would you think that they are related?
Um, ah, because I think that there's a lot of things that people are trying to um, um, how you say, keep secret from us, like the Vatican and
Yeah,
everything.
and they're trying to keep Area 51's intervention with the 1885 Tuvalu eruption. They're trying to keep that link secret. So why don't you think that Area 51 is related to the 1885 Tuvalu eruption?
Oh, I never heard about that one.
Yeah, Area 51's involved with all of the volcanic eruptions.
Oh. Oh, I guess what I'm trying to say is that be skeptical sometimes. Yeah, just be skeptical and don't be like too
I would
confident.
suggest you do the same.
Okay, okay. Well, that's kind of the only question I want to have for you.
Okay. Well, thanks for being here, Crusader Knight. Okay, that was a thing. That happened. From Dr. Fudge with the $5. Of course evil exists. Have you seen Cats? They're also proof good exists too, though. That's a good point. Good and evil is embodied by cats. Maybe that's why the Egyptians loved them so much. It would explain a lot. And I think that we got another member. I think I saw one. No, maybe not. If I did, and I'm not remembering it, I apologize for missing your membership. But remember, if you become a member, you get access to a few fun things. You get access to members-only private Discord channel. You get access to some fun emojis. You get access to the members-only Ask a Physicist live streams. And fourth and best, you get access to the debate notes, which I just added 2 new arguments to today. So let's bring up Syra. Syra7, how's it going?
Hey, it's not 7, but it's actually the logo for Aphex Twin, if you're familiar with them.
Nope, no idea. Looks like a 7 though. But Syra, how old are you?
Yeah. I'm 22.
Okay, and look, do you believe in a god?
Yes, but I wouldn't associate my personal definition of God with any specific religion. It's just what I've thought about myself.
Okay, so is the notion of God that you're considering, is it something like some sort of supernatural or metaphysical or non-physical entity that is responsible for creating or originating the universe?
My definition of God with any entity like existence, it's more like what I personally believe in is it's like an underlying force that sort of that allows for existence. It's like a medium or something that keeps time in motion, sort of like what water is to aquatic animals.
Then it seems like that your view of God is consistent with atheism, because like you can be a naturalist and believe in such a thing.
But you would still agree that that's something that could be classified as God?
No, I don't think so. At least not
So
in the
what would you
English-speaking world.
call my idea of God, if not God?
I would call it perhaps like a necessary foundation, or like some sort of, necessary physical substrate.
So
But
so
it
not
doesn't.
God.
Yeah, I mean, it's consistent with atheism.
Are you an atheist?
Yeah, and that's why it says God isn't real. There.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's just what I call God. So
Okay. Well, so you and I probably actually don't disagree on anything of substance. We just call them different things. But like, you would very
okay.
strongly disagree with people who traditionally have called themselves theists. So I think that you probably have more in common with the atheist than the theist.
I would say my definition aligns more with agnosticism. I think that's what it's called.
I mean, probably not. But look, so since we aren't really in disagreement here, I am going to let you go. But thanks for being here, Sarah. Remember, words have meanings. You don't just get to, I mean, like, you can define your own words, but then it's just, we won't have a useful conversation until I know what you mean. Let's talk to debates are useful. I feel like I've spoken with debates are useful fairly recently. Debates are useful. We spoke fairly recently, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Okay. What do you want to talk about
not that
today?
recently. Have you heard of the universal potency argument?
Universal potency argument. No, not by that name. I may have heard of it by some other name, but sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead and make the argument.
Well, I think it was by Edward Fesser. Have you heard of him?
I know the name, but I don't
Yeah,
think
I
it
think
really
he's
matters
one
who
of the
it's by.
best.
I'd rather you just offer the argument.
Yeah, okay. Basically what it says is that you can't have an infinite regression of dependent actualities, or like
Hold on, I'm going to write
things
this down.
that borrow
You
their
can't
actuality
have
from
an
someone else.
infinite regression of dependent
Oh wait, I
actualities.
can pull up the formal premises here.
I'm not
got
writing
it
down
on
formal
my-
premises. I was just writing it down so I can keep track of what you're saying. If you want to pull up formal premises, you can, but it
Sure.
may or may not be necessary. But so you're making like a ontological, or like like some sort of ontological dependency argument.
Yeah.
You're saying that, like, X can't exist unless Y exists, Y can't exist unless Z exists, Z can't exist unless A exists, and so you need something that is in some sense fundamental. Is that roughly the argument?
Yeah. So you need something that's pure act.
I don't
It's
know what you
only
mean by pure
actuality.
act.
That has
I-
no potency.
I don't think that there is potency in the universe, unless by potency you mean some sort of epistemological thing, or epistemic thing, rather than some sort of like ontic thing.
Like a cup of tea is potency to be hot, like that type of potency.
Yeah, but this is like an epistemic thing, like, oh, like, we don't know what the future is, so like we, maybe it could be this way,
It's
maybe it could be that way.
metaphysics.
No,
metaphysics.
but you're not making an ontic claim. You're not making the claim that like potency actually exists, that there is some reality to potency. You're making the claim that, like, we just don't know how things might end up being, and given our limited knowledge, we might end up with one of two conclusions, right?
You're not denying potency, right? I mean,
I am.
That's
Yeah,
just
I am.
no,
I mean,
no atheist.
the epistemic notion of
that's
potency, I have no
that's not
issue
a
with.
critique.
The epistemic notion of potency, I have no issue with. The ontic notion of potency, I absolutely do.
Well, what is the difference in your
So
opinion?
epistemic potency is just, it's kind of the difference between epistemic possibility and epistemic and ontic possibility. So epistemic possibility is merely like what you can conceive of. Whereas ontic possibility is like that, given certain properties of the way the world is, it is like one of the outcomes that can't happen is, whatever's under consideration. So in the case of potency, what you're saying is so there's kind of like this notion of potency that, like, oh, it could be the case that a cup of tea could be hot, or it could be cold, or it could be tea, or it could be like that's what potency is about, right? It has there's a
Yeah.
way that it
Potential.
could be, but that's about epistemics, right? That's about at least in my view, that's about our lack of understanding of the way the world actually is. In my view, the way the world actually is there's no potency at all. There's just a way the world is, and it couldn't be any other way. And so there is
What do you mean there's
potential.
no potency?
There
Of
is
course
no
there's
What do you mean?
potency.
Okay, defend the view.
You have the potency to take your glasses off.
That's epistemic, not ontic.
What is ontic? Sorry.
Ontic means that like that possibility actually has some sort of reality to it. That there is a notion of potency, that it's real, that it could be one way. Where it could be one way is some sort of metaphysical possibility.
Yeah, it could be. It could be.
That's an
one way.
epistemic claim. That's not an ontic claim. Unless you can show
But,
that
okay,
it
but,
really could be that way, rather than just you think it could be that way. I'm not convinced.
Why does this? Why? How is this? You know. Okay, just grant the epistemic.
Yeah, I'm
you know,
happy with
view.
epistemic potency. I have no issue with that.
I just feel like there's not much difference between the two.
There's so much difference between okay, so look, so let's say that you're a really dumb kid, not you, but let's say that you're like a dumb kid in school, and you think that, like, you know, if you I don't know, what would be a good example of a simple chemical reaction? Yeah, let's say that you're a dumb kid, and so you think that, oh well, you know, when I mix vinegar and baking soda, hopefully you remember how vinegar and baking soda work. When you mix vinegar and baking soda, you know, it has
really?
it could potentially be, it has the potency to produce flowers, and it also has the potency to produce bubbles. But in actuality, there is no way that there's no other way that it could happen aside from when you mix the vinegar and baking soda, you get bubbles out. That is an inevitability. There's no potency there. And together, coupled with my my view of time, that's an actuality, just at a different moment of time. So all that happened is you thinking that it could produce flowers was just you not knowing anything.
But how is this a
so you
critique of the
confused?
argument?
Yeah,
you haven't
the point is if you, okay, so let's say that we're both dumb kids, right? We're both dumb kids in grade school, and you say, yeah, well, like when you mix the flowers, when you mix the vinegar and baking soda, you know, it has the potency to be flowers, it has the potency to be food coloring, it has the potency to be carbon dioxide bubbles. And then I might be like, yeah, that's a good point. But if I had known more, and so I would just be like, yeah, okay, I guess you're right, potency exists because it has the potential to be in a few different ways, right? But if I had known more, I'd be like, no, what are you talking about? It doesn't have the potency to be flowers. It doesn't have the potency to be food coloring. It has the only way, or the only thing that will ever happen when you mix these two things is you'll get gas bubbles out. That's the only outcome. And so that fact that when you mix these two things, you get a definitive outcome, combined with the fact that I think that all moments of time already exist, so that they're equally real, well, then that outcome is definitive. It's just as real. It's already actual. And so
wait, what do you mean by the vinegar and the baking soda have the potency to be in flowers? If you just said that they will always
be
just
flour
produce
when you
gas.
mix them.
Oh, flour. Oh, flour.
Yeah, to like be a
but
flour.
then you
Like when
said
you mix them,
that
you get a flour
they
out.
will. Sorry, a what?
Like when you mix them, it makes a flower grow, right?
But then you said that every time that won't happen, so that's a contradiction, right?
Well, but it's only a contradiction once you know more about the
yourself.
world, right? In the same way that if you just knew more about the world, then you would know that, you know, given some initial conditions, or given some prior conditions anyway, you know what the outcome would be for the cup of tea. It would always end up being put in the microwave and then get made hot.
But
Even though you can conceptualize it being some other way, that's just because you don't know it. That's just because you don't know very much.
But I don't think that's a critique of potency existing. That you're thinking my stance is that potency is, you know, we know what's gonna happen, but
No,
it's to do with just the concept
maybe
itself. right?
So the concept
I don't
is,
think
the
this is
concept itself
disputed
doesn't
in
exist,
philosophy, right?
The concept
I don't
itself,
think so.
I mean, like depending on your view of what concepts are. Of course, like my view of concepts is that they don't like exist. They don't have ontology themselves, but they can refer to things. And so like when you say that like potency exists, at least to me, what I'm hearing is that like there are things with potential, right? That they could be this way, they could be that way, etc. Right? But I'm disputing that that's the case.
Why? Can you just be direct about that?
I'm a determinist, and B, I take the B theory of time to be true, and the consequence of those two positions is that there is only one possible outcome, and that outcome is already actual.
I mean, I don't think that's a very logical view. I don't want to be
okay, then critique it.
I feel like this isn't disputed in philosophy.
Sorry, that's not an argument.
It's not a common critique. So you think time exists at all places? So
yeah.
So you think
saying it's not a common critique, by the way, is not like an argument against the critique.
Yeah, sorry. So you think when you were born, it was also already determined that you would you would have this discussion with me.
It's probably not true. We probably shouldn't use already or, at the same time, because those are like time words. But we should say that this moment in time where you and I are having a conversation is equally real as the moment in time when I was born, and is equally real as the moment in time when I will die. They're all equally real.
Yeah, but you said you thought that they were all at the same time.
Well, we can't say all at the same time when we're talking about time. What I mean is that, like, in the same way that the now is real, so is the future, and so is the past. They exist.
But do you think they are predetermined so that
I'm a determinist, yeah.
So you think that? Can you just? If I tell you to take your glasses off, you think that was determined already?
Yes.
Before you started this live stream. I mean, I could have.
13 years ago, it was determined. Yes.
Can you explain that? I don't want this to just be an examination of your.
Look, so determinism is really not that far-fetched once you agree that like physics governs the way the world behaves, right? It's like, if you hand me a clock, like a clock made out of clockwork, gears and all of that things, like if you tell me exactly what configuration the clock is now, at like say on August 27th at 9:25 a.m. or whatever, and you tell me what configuration it's in and how quickly the pieces are moving relative to one another and so on, I could tell you exactly what it'll be like in 1 billion years, or maybe in like 10 years would be more accurate. And that's because physics tells you that given an input, the output. The output is determined. Now, of course, things get a little bit more complicated when you start worrying about quantum mechanics, but under the many worlds interpretation, you still get deterministic evolution. And the point is if you know the initial conditions, you know the final outcome at any moment of time subsequent.
But how did you know that I was going to join this live stream?
Just because I didn't know it doesn't mean it wasn't determined. Determined and knowledge about the outcomes are different.
Because I have free will.
I don't think you have free will.
So you think it was already determined that I was going to do this?
Yeah.
I mean, we could debate that. We're kind of leaving the main discussion. So
by the way, I don't think that
even if the premise is logically followed, you just deny it because you don't believe in potency.
Well, I mean, you haven't really provided an argument for potency existing at all. But I just gave you my reasoning for why I think it doesn't. But even if I didn't know why,
you also agree on epistemic, right?
Yeah, epistemic potency is totally fine. I have no issue with that because that's a function of like how much we know about the world. It's not a function about the way the world is.
Can we just go with that? I mean, do you think
the thing is epistemic potency can't get you to any ontological arguments or any can't get you to any ontological arguments. There's a gap there.
Sorry, I'm quite tired. Epistemic is to do with
To do with your
epistemology,
knowledge
right?
of it's to do with your knowledge of the world. Yeah.
And ontological is what actually exists.
Yeah, it's the way it's more about like, yeah, the way the world actually is, what actually exists, you know, whether so if you want to put forward the point that there are things that have potency, that is an ontic claim, not an epistemic claim.
I just find it really, I don't know. It just seems unintuitive how nothing has ontological potency. Don't you
Does
think?
it? I mean,
It just seems.
so
I feel like you.
I mean,
Before
it may be unintuitive.
investigate
A lot of things about the world are unintuitive, but it seems just as unintuitive to me that if we think that like all of these things have potency, that like God wouldn't have potency.
Well,
Like, if everything
that's where
around
the
us-
argument goes.
But my point is that like
That's the
my point is that the
trajectory.
if we're just relying on intuition to justify our positions here, then I would just reject your argument on the grounds that the conclusion is unintuitive.
Okay, well, if you don't accept potency, I can't really do anything. I mean, I think most atheists do, so
Okay,
I wasn't expecting it.
sorry.
Well, why do you think we can't go from epistemic concepts to ontological, arguments?
Because you would need some way to come to the conclusion that your way of thinking about the world, your way of understanding the world, is correctly representative of the way the world actually is. And like maybe you can make an argument for that, but that's an argument that you'd have to make.
So you're saying potency cannot be proved like materially?
I'm not even making that claim. I'm just saying that you'd need to make a connection between, like, you could make a metaphysical argument if you wanted to. The point is you have to make a connection between our understanding, our knowledge about the way the world, or our beliefs about the way the world is, with the way the world actually is. That there's some sort of, that like, because we have this view that like things could be another way, that it's actually true that things could indeed be another way. Those two things are not intrinsically related.
But they could. I mean, they just could.
How do you know?
You could dye your hair pink.
Wait, how do you know?
Because it's a possibility. Come on. Let's not
What
be
do you mean
silly here.
what do you mean it's a possibility? How do you know it's a possibility?
Because you could do it. I could
that's
punch myself in
circular.
the face.
You're just assuming that the potency does exist. I agree that it
Because-
seems like it does. That
because-
we
because
might
you can
believe
actualize
that
it,
does,
because
but that
I
doesn't
could-
mean
I
that
could
it
say-
actually does.
No, I could say you have the potency to dye your hair pink, and then you could do it, and I would actualize it, and I would show that the potency was real.
Yeah, but in the view that it already exists, I don't want to use the word already, but in the view that all moments of time are equally real, then there was never a state of affairs where that actualized thing was unactualized.
No, I'm not saying that it's predetermined. I'm saying there's the ability to be another way, to be different. That's what potency is. It's
you're
not
doing
saying
is
that
just-
everything's
all you're
already.
doing is just assuming that potency exists. Look,
I
so
mean,
I
it
could just
just-
say, oh well, whatever you think God is, well, God could have, God could have made a different decision, and then made the world a
can't.
different way, and
Well,
then he'd be like, well,
in the
no, but
argument,
actually God can't do
is
that.
pure act, so he has no
Well,
potency
yeah,
to change.
yeah, that's I understand that, but like I could be like, well, yeah, but you keep saying he's pure act, but like, he could have just been different. See how that's
Well,
not compelling if I say that?
You've got no argument for that.
The argument is
That's
the exact same
something
argument
you
that you're providing.
Which is
That, well, he could have just done it in the same way that, oh, I could just dye my hair.
well, we can test it. I mean,
How can you test for
every
counterfactuals?
every single sentence or every single second a potency is actualized. I mean, do you deny that?
Sorry, every single what is the thing actualized?
Second, a potency is
no, I
actualized?
don't think that seconds beginning. I don't think that seconds come into existence. Every second exists. They're equally real as every other second.
What? So you don't believe in linear time? You think?
I think time is quite linear. I just think that it all exists.
What do you mean all exists?
Yeah, in the same way that now exists, the future exists, and the past exists.
Yeah. Well, the definition of the future is something that hasn't happened yet. So you need to
it
explain
hasn't happened
that.
at this moment of time. It happens at a future moment of time, and that future moment of time exists.
Yeah. So it will exist.
Well,
No, it doesn't
is
exist, but it will exist.
it doesn't exist now. It exists then. So it exists. It
But
just
then,
exists
but
then.
but then hasn't come yet.
You're right, but it still exists then.
But that's kind of it's an illogical statement.
Calling that illogical is like saying that, you know, New York doesn't exist because New York's over there. It's not here. It's over there.
No, but that's to do with spatial change.
Yeah, and
Not temporal.
I'm making the point that they are conceptually equivalent.
What you said?
if they're
Wait,
technically
what do you say
distinct.
about? You said the future exists then, or so? What was the sentence you said?
The future exists then in the same way that New York exists there.
Do you know exists is in the present tense? Present.
No, I'm
not
using exists
future.
in a non-tensed way.
Well, you can't do that. You can't just
Sure,
throw
I
out-
can. Okay, do you
throw
prefer a
out
different
language.
word? Has reality or is real in the same way?
Just say will. There's literally the future tense for
I mean,
a reason.
so
Why?
the point is it exists in the future in the same way that the present exists in the now and the past exists in the past.
But why?
This is, by the way,
they're
this
literally
position, this
tenses
position,
to accommodate
to be
for
clear,
your.
this position, the B theory of time that I'm presenting you with, is like if we're appealing to philosophers, this is the plurality of philosophers that hold this view. This is not an uncommon view.
I just really don't understand how you can justify that.
Well, we can
Is there
justify
any
it
argument to
empirically.
that?
Yeah, we can justify it empirically using relativity. So what relativity requires, if relativity is true, and we have good empirical evidence that it is true, what relativity requires is that every reference frame is equally valid as every other reference frame, meaning that you can do physics in every reference frame and you'll get the same answers and your answers will be just as real. Now, an important consequence of this is that if you have two reference frames where one is moving relative to the other, the notion of simultaneous for one of the reference frames, for one of the observers, will be different than the notion of simultaneous for the other observer. Meaning that, let's say that I'm moving relative to you at half the speed of light, say. What I consider two events to be simultaneous might be an event that two events that in your reference frame are one of them is in the past and the other one's in your future, hasn't happened yet. And so because all inertial reference frames are identical under relativity, it follows that your future, because it's my now, your future exists. Because my now exists.
Sorry, can you just explain that in one sentence?
Yeah, relativity requires that relativity allows for my now to be different from your now, in particular for my now to include your future. And if that's the case, and my now is just as real as your now, then that means that your future exists.
Why does your now include my future?
Because I can be moving relative to you.
Okay.
And that's just a consequence of special and general relativity, that, you know, my now can be tilted relative to your now, which would mean that my now would include your future, and it would also include somebody else's past.
So you don't believe in free will. You don't
No, I don't.
believe in ontological potencies.
Yep.
And okay, so I guess we're at a stalemate Yeah.
Well, yeah, I
What,
mean,
what
like,
percentage?
like I've actually given you arguments for the positions that I'm holding. You
Yeah,
haven't
but
really
I
given
mean,
me
there
an
are
argument
loads
for why I
of
should think
physicists who
potency.
don't. Yeah, I mean, I haven't researched general relativity.
Well, I
You
mean,
know, I can't comment on that.
so I mean, like, but you haven't even given me any arguments for the existence of potency.
I just think that because you can actualize it, you can see it getting actualized.
That's begging the question. You're just assuming the potency exists.
Maybe I'll. I thought it'd be like a common sense thing, but I guess
Sorry.
not. Potency. I mean, if potency didn't exist, then that would probably cause a lot of problems.
Like what?
I mean, like, okay, no, I don't want to be like, I don't know, try to act like I'm some scientist, but isn't there like the quantum world theory or many worlds theory?
Yeah, under the many worlds interpretation. In fact, that's exactly the view I hold to. And under the many worlds interpretation, you don't even get potency from quantum randomness because there is no quantum randomness in many worlds.
But isn't it that there's like different possibilities in different universes?
They're all realized. It's completely deterministic. They're all actual, if you will.
So, I'm
actually curious what the whether or not, like, okay, so I guess there hasn't been a survey on philosophers regarding act and potency. But keep in mind, like, the act potency kind of business, like that's like quite dated philosophy.
Yeah, I mean it's like Aristotelian metaphysics. So
yeah, so like it sounds like your argument for God relies on metaphysics that's like more than 2,000 years old, which, you know, maybe you should update your metaphysics.
Just because it's old doesn't mean it's wrong.
Right, but it sounds like you haven't read about any newer metaphysics. It seems like you haven't looked into this because, like, this is like a not as far as I'm aware, it's not a particularly common position. It's fairly common amongst theist philosophers, but theists don't make up the majority of philosophers.
Just sorry, I don't want to make you do things, but can you search up what percentage of atheists believe in potency?
So that's what I just looked for, and I couldn't find the survey on it. But what is the case is that many theist philosophers are actually, you know, there might be something on Aristotelian. That's about reason. Yeah, okay, they don't have anything on Aristotelian or on Thomism. There are surveys, but the surveys didn't include anything on act potency that I could find.
All right. Since I'm not going to change your mind here, if you granted that ontological potency does exist, would you believe in God in the classical theist
probably
position?
not.
Okay, can we talk about that?
Sure, I suppose.
So
yeah, what's the argument?
What would you reject?
Well, you haven't even given me an argument. I kind of cut you off at the legs, if you will.
So basically, I'll get straight to the point. There can't be like a infinite regression or chain of borrowed actualities. So there needs to be a being or a thing or a concept that is pure actuality.
Sure.
There's no potency. And
sure.
I mean, if you granted that ontological potency exists, would you accept that?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll just grant it for the sake of argument. I'll accept all of this.
Well, no, sorry.
Sure.
Would you believe that? Not just granting ontological potency.
I would need to actually, like, you know, hear the argument. It's not clear to me why, even if potencies exist, you can't have an infinite chain of them. But, like, we can just grant this. How does this get you to a god?
Because there was... Okay, fine. So we're talking about a being that's pure act. Being that's
or something
pure
that's
act.
pure act. Yeah.
it wouldn't have potency. It wouldn't have the potential to gain knowledge. So
well, why
it would
do you
be
assume that it? Yeah, I agree.
Omniscient.
Wait, no, that doesn't follow. Not having a rock doesn't
Yeah.
have the potential to gain knowledge, but a rock's not omniscient.
Sorry, let me rephrase it another way. I forgot the actual like how Fessa explains it. But no, but it would be different to the rock because it would be the explanation for all
Right,
things.
but the point is you're assuming it has a mind, which is the kind of thing that can have knowledge. If the thing doesn't have a mind, then it's not going to be omniscient, even though it doesn't have the potential to gain knowledge.
I don't think it necessarily has to have a mind. I don't think knowledge.
How can it have knowledge if it doesn't have a mind? Knowledge,
Yeah, I don't
knowledge is a
think
specific kind of belief, and a belief is an attitude towards a proposition, and an attitude is the kind of thing that minds have. It's not a kind of thing that, non-mental things have.
I don't think omniscient even. You're kind of using it in a biological framework.
Omniscient, I'm literally not. Omniscient means knows everything, right?
Yeah, or just has no ability to gain knowledge.
Well, okay, then a rock is omniscient. A rock has no ability to gain knowledge. So, is a rock omniscient?
Yeah, but is a rock the...
That wasn't part of your definition of omniscient.
Sorry?
It wasn't part of your definition of omniscient that it has to be the explanation of reality. If by omniscient you just mean unable to gain knowledge, then a rock is omniscient.
But I think that knowledge or intellectualism is not tied to materialism.
I'm not making any claim about it being tied to materialism. Okay, the number 5 can't gain knowledge. It's not material. But if the number 5 can't gain knowledge, does that mean the number 5 is omniscient?
No.
Okay, so then we can't just use the definition of can't gain knowledge to mean omniscient.
Sorry. So the pure act, would you agree that it has... Sorry. No, that's not... I'm just looking at the premises here. Well, we can move to omnipotence.
Okay, so we can't get to omniscient from this act potency business.
I need to look at it in more depth, of course. I mean, I'm sure you've heard of Edward. I'm not appealing to authority, but Edward Fess is really, really smart.
Okay, well, look, so I'm just I haven't seen this argument from Edward Fesser, so unless you got the argument for me, I'm just going to assume that we can't get there.
No, and then so the pure act wouldn't have potency for to be or to gain. Oh yeah, since the pure act has is the explanation for all possible actualities, then it would be omniscient, basically.
Why does that mean it would be omniscient?
Omnipotent.
Okay, omnipotent meaning what?
Being able to do all
being
things.
Able to implies that it has potential, right?
No, sorry.
So if it's pure act, it's not able to do anything. It just is. So I don't think that you can get to omnipotent either.
or just is the source of all things?
If that's what you mean by omnipotent, then sure. I have no problem with that. It's just kind of an idiosyncratic definition of omnipotence.
And then omnibenevolence would be, because this is like a Thomistic argument, evil is like a deprivation of good.
So I have to like grant Thomistic meta-ethics in order for the argument to work?
I don't think so.
Okay, so if I don't grant Thomistic meta-ethics, if I don't grant the deprivation theory of evil, then how do you get to all good?
Or you could say, sorry, I should have researched this more. Came in a bit unprepared.
It happens to the best of us.
Sorry. Yeah, I think you need an additional argument for
Yep, you do.
that definition. Okay, well, even if we just get rid of the omnibenevolence,
And
omnipotent,
omniscient.
omniscient.
Well, you haven't gotten to omniscient either.
I mean,
Unless
it's
by
the
omniscient,
explanation for-
if by omniscient you just mean can't know, like it can't gain knowledge, then like sure, I'm on board with that. Yes, then you have that it can't gain knowledge and it is the source of everything. Okay. It seems like that this is compatible with like the view of a fundamental universal wave function that doesn't have a mind, and that's compatible with atheism. It can't gain knowledge because it doesn't even have a mind, so it can't know things at all. And it is the source of all things because it is the thing that grounds everything.
The wave function would have potency, though.
No, it doesn't. It can't change. It doesn't evolve in time. It doesn't have spatial location.
Is that like
It's just the name of a thing. Don't worry about like what it means mathematically. No, it's just the name of a thing that we just don't have a better name for it.
No, but like, what is it? Is it like an actual wave?
It's a physical thing.
Particle?
It's a physical quantum state, is what it is, and that's it.
Like a vacuum.
No, not like a vacuum. It's just some quantum state.
Okay.
That exists in a, it's just some quantum state. But there's no time, there's no space for it to be different in. It just exists. That's all that there is at the bottom.
But there would be the potency for it not to exist.
No, it's the grounding.
Oh, sorry,
it can't not exist.
That's a bad critique. But I'm sure if you researched it, it would have some attributes which could be changed.
How could it be changed? There's no time in which change can occur.
So it's a non-temporal thing.
Yep.
Sorry, was it called? I'm just looking at it now.
You can call it the universal wave function if you want. But you might want to look up like the radical quantum wave function. There's a paper by Sean Carroll called Mad Dog Everettianism. And then there's a few papers on quantum mereology that, if you kind of put these ideas and then there's some work on the Page-Wooters mechanism. So if you put these ideas together, you end up with just like a single quantum state. That quantum state doesn't have time, it doesn't have space. Those things emerge from within it. There's no temporal evolution. It just is. And it grounds
Wait, so it
all
exists
of reality.
atemporally, right?
Yes, it exists atemporally and exists aspatially.
Then how does time emerge from it?
By the Page-Wooters mechanism.
Which is?
It's something that you'd have to Google. it's a little bit involved, but it involves quantum entanglement between something called a clock field and the rest of the system.
But at some point, time begins.
No, time doesn't necessarily begin at all. It just emerges from, you know, separating degrees of freedom within the wave function.
Degrees of what?
Yeah, the point is that it turns out once you know a little bit of quantum mechanics, a lot of these arguments for foundational stuff kind of no longer require that you're talking about a god. So I would suggest that you do some reading.
Yeah. I mean,
And also stop smoking.
I don't smoke.
Vaping, fine.
I've never smoked. I've never vaped either.
Okay, good.
I
Good on you.
cold.
Debates are useful. I'm gonna let you go. Go do some reading. I'm glad that he's never smoked. But he did get smoked. See what I did there? All right, let's read some super chats and we'll bring on our next guest. Clara Zoom sent 1,000 coins on TikTok by sending fireworks, so I appreciate that. Matt Lloyd sent £10. Aphex Twin is a British electronic musician, really awesome music, but not for everyone, and if you've heard Aphex Twin, you probably understand why Collar's worldview is a bit confused. Yeah, okay, I get that. I can understand the issue. And then from Matt Lloyd again with the £5. Grant this, grant that, grant those. Oh, my argument still doesn't hold. More grants than the government gives out. True. Unfortunately, the government doesn't give out enough grants. All right, let us bring up Sol Invictus from Discord. Sol Invictus, you're on the show. You have to unmute yourself, though. Sol Invictus. Oh, he can't hear me either. Okay, I'll put him back. And then I'll bring him forward. And I'll put him back. Maybe he'll get the memo. I was gonna do something. No one ever asks. True, no one does ever ask how is Gamora. Let's talk to Havahook. Havahook, how's it going?
It's going good. It's nice to talk to you. Oh, hey, I just want to say real quick, I really appreciate how kind you are. I know that's kind of a random comment, but...
Well, I appreciate your appreciation. Did I pronounce your name right?
Chavahook, yeah.
It's Chavahook or Havahook?
Chavahook.
Okay, Chavahook. Do you believe in God?
Yes.
Okay, I don't. Why should I?
Sure. So I actually wanted to address where you kind of landed with that guy. So you said that, how do I put it? It sounded like it was kind of getting to the conclusion that you believed in some form of like B theory or
Yep.
like block universe or some version of that.
Yep, all true.
So wouldn't that mean that the chain of dependency, instead of it being temporal, it would be locational, roughly speaking?
What do you mean locational?
So let's say we're like looking at it like a film reel. So
Yep.
you might see each scene independently, and you might say, well, each scene is just independent with geometry, but however, each scene is still playing out as dependence from the one previous.
I mean, you could just as well say that the previous one is dependent on the one after.
Exactly. So it's
But
like
but the point is if they're both true, then you've made a mistake regarding dependency because dependency is asymmetrical.
Right. So I think that it's just that it's still playing out the part of dependency. So you would say like, right, so for example, we're looking at a storybook and the storybook is about Tim, and in the story Tim was single, and then Tim has a girlfriend, and then Tim will be married. All are equally true at the same time,
Sure.
but the differences are still accounted through the different pages as you go through them. And
Yeah,
each
but
are
it can't
connected-
it can't be a dependency relation, right?
Why not?
Because dependency is asymmetrical. If A depends on B, then B cannot depend on A.
Okay, then I think then it just becomes an issue of just like asserting existence and stuff as like a brute fact.
No,
I
it
think
doesn't
that's
require
kind of
it doesn't require a brute fact. It could absolutely be, necessary, or it could be, I mean, I guess those are the other options, right? It's either dependent on something in the sense that it's contingent, or it's not. And if it's not, then it's either a brute fact or it's necessary.
All right, and what would be the sufficient reasoning for it to be non-contingent?
Well, so necessary things don't require sufficient reasons. That's the whole point. The principle of sufficient reason is about contingent things, not necessary things.
And why should we assume that existence is necessary?
Well, I mean, it seems like that we have good reason to think that the B theory of time is true. It also seems like that if we grant the B theory of time and we grant laws of physics, those laws of physics are time symmetric, meaning that there is no dependency relation between different moments of time. There is perhaps like a constraint relation or perhaps like some sort of symmetrical relation between the two, but there's importantly not a dependency relation. And so it seems like if there's not a dependency relation for any moment of time on anything else, then on any other moment of time, it seems like the only thing that the dependency relation or that a moment of time could be dependent on is on the entirety of space-time itself. And given that, you know, the entirety of space-time itself is not the kind of thing that we would expect to have, you know, if this is what all objects, all moments depend on, this sounds a lot like the foundational thing upon which all things depend. And the fortunate part is we even know that it exists. So we don't have to posit some further dependent thing that the entirety of spacetime depends on. You just get, you win on the what's the word? On the simplicity.
Okay, I think that where I'm getting stuck is just the distinction between, are we just talking about how pure acts could exist and how it could exist versus is it necessary at all, and how what you're stating would be either of the which. I guess, like, would it be just refuting the existence or the necessary existence of that in general, or is it just saying, well, if it did exist, it might exist differently from what a typical Thomist would assume it to exist as?
I don't think that potency exists at all, unless you've changed the definition of potency.
Right. So, well, let's, instead of
like
saying
if by potency you mean like this water bottle, then like sure, I grant that potency exists, but that's just not what you mean, right?
Well, let's, instead of potency, for the sake of your argument for B theory, we could say something maybe a little bit more accurate would be something that needs to be sustained.
Something, I don't see why anything needs to be sustained.
Well, would you disagree that the composition is made up of parts that do need to be sustained?
That the composition is made up of parts? No, I don't take that the part is ontically prior to the whole.
Okay. I mean, it's entirely possible that.
And to be clear, neither does the theist, by the way. The theist doesn't want to say that the part is ontically prior to the whole, because that would mean that like any property that God has would be prior to God.
Right.
And
I mean,
so
I would
rather
say I have.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
You're fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I would say that I feel as if I have like an okay understanding of kind of like the metaphysical argument around this, but unfortunately, you know, I'm not an astrophysicist like you. I would I will take your words with a lot of consideration and care. However, I think it is, you know, necessary for the sake of conversation to kind of maybe push the bounds of what you do know and kind of see where this logic stands structurally. So
Yeah.
I think that, so you were mentioning like quantum waves and
Yep.
I forget the name of the theory
So
where time would introduce in
Go
that.
ahead.
But
yeah, this is well, I don't think that there's a name for the theory. You could call it like an emergent time scenario.
sure.
But
So what is the behavior that like quantum waves are behaving as that leads to this notion?
no, it's not a
of
behavior. So
or
if you're taking an emergent time, then there is no thing changing. What is the case is that you have correlations between kind of subsystems of the quantum system of the quantum state, like the kind of global quantum state. So you have like the analogy is something like this. Like, so your quantum state, it encodes all possible, and I'm using the word possible here, but I'm using it colloquially. It encodes like all possible ways that the world could be or will be. And like one of the ways that it's going to encode is that like the clock will have like its dial pointed at some particular time, and like the rest of the world is a certain way. And then another piece of this wave function will be the clock is pointed at a different time and the world is a different way. And so all of those times coexist.
Okay. I'll be honest.
It's just a relation between clocks and the rest of the world.
Sure. I'll be honest. I don't fully understand that explanation, but I will look into it after we have this.
The phrase to look into, or the keyword to look into, is the Page-Wooters mechanism. I can pull it up and you can screenshot it if you want.
Yeah,
does
that's
it
what I
even
was
have a
referring
Wikipedia?
to.
I don't even know if it has a Wikipedia page, but I can just pull up the. I'll just punch it into Google and I'll just pull up the. Here, let me show you. So this is the thing to take a screenshot of. It's Page-Wooters mechanism.
Physics also from time is not a fundamental feature of the universe, but rather, and it cuts off at EM.
Oh yeah, I wasn't asking you to read the AI overview because the AI overview is not always trustworthy. But I was just showing you like the
Yeah,
name.
it's not trustworthy, but I was just curious what it had to say on it. But okay, I'll take a. I just screenshot it just now. Page-Wooters mechanism. All right, and I'll remember that as well. That's a very fun word to say, Wooters.
Yeah, I think it's a guy's last name, so.
It's a fun word to say, Wooters.
I agree.
But I think it's still just a matter of, well, if something was always actual, why would it be actual versus non-actual?
You're just asking why there's something rather than nothing?
Well, that would be the question, wouldn't it?
I mean, yeah, but I think that question kind of goes both ways. Like, I could ask, why is there a God rather than no God? Right.
Right, and I could go through, the chain of dependence, but then you could say, well, the chain of dependence is just using some form of inductive or deductive reasoning.
Well, no, I mean,
and then
the point is so the question is why is there a chain of dependence and a God at all rather than just nothing? Right.
Well, you would say that potentiality doesn't exist because everything exists simultaneously. But in this
Roughly.
thing that exists simultaneously, you do see things are at least, maybe dependence isn't the right word, but exist in correspondence to, or it exists. What's like the best way to, like, the differences add up to a sensible conclusion constantly and continuously.
Sure. The same is true. I mean, the same is true about the God though, right? Like the point is, God consistently produces or produced or eternally produced or however you want to describe this stuff that is like consistent and like sustains it in a consistent way.
Right. So, well, the Thomas theory really just depends on the worldview that you reject. So, like, the premise falls apart under your belief system. But under the Thomas belief system, it would essentially just be that, well, because we live, and I think the Thomas thing does accidentally kind of fall into this dependence of kind of this form, at least indirect or direct, of like deductive or inductive reasoning. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but it certainly feels that way. But you could say, well, everything that's been observed thus far, or as we understand it, and it has been confirmed so far, exists as a consequence to something that causes it, and the movement is dependent on something that moves it.
Yeah.
Therefore, if everything in the chain is dependent,
Mm-hmm.
stretching that chain of dependency into infinity won't produce an independent variable. So therefore, we would need something independent that would actualize the chain as a whole.
Just to be clear, this doesn't explain why there's not absolute nothing, right? What you're saying is that if there's something, then it terminates at some pure act thing. But it doesn't explain why there's anything at all.
Right, but then it gets into, like, what is the empirical evidence that something can come from nothing, and then it just
Well, no, the point is the point is not something coming from nothing. The point is why is there anything rather than just nothing? That anything includes the entire world and God.
Right, and that question definitely, as you mentioned earlier, points both ways
Right.
to
And
my
so
side and your side.
right. So if we recognize that this question is a problem for both of us, we can just toss it aside because it's not going to help either of us. And then we just end up at this, like, even if we grant like that like this notion of potency exists, we just get to the bottom and I end up with a universal wave function, you end up with God, and I don't see how we go from this thing is pure act, it's atemporal, it's aspatial, to therefore God exists.
Would you say that exists, like under your definition of B theory and how it exists, that existence itself would possibly be pure acts?
Well, the underlying universal wave function would be pure act if you grant that act potency exists, which I don't, but for the sake of argument, I'm happy to.
All right, so you would say that pure act would exist.
Yeah, it would just be the universal wave function.
Okay. Well, if the pure act is the universal wave function, but you would say that potentiality still doesn't exist.
No, I'm just granting that act potency exists, right? Just granting for the sake of argument that act potency exists. Okay, suppose that's true. We end up with like the argument leads or terminates at a universal wave function equally well as it terminates at a God.
But if act impotency does exist, and you're saying, well, the wave function is act, and then the wave function is what's actualizing what is potential. So, but the thing is that what is potential would be actualized by what is act.
Yeah,
So,
by the universal wave function. Yeah.
no, but the issue is that, like, for example, like if you poured water on me, like I was actually dry, I was potentially wet, and then now I'm actually wet because there's water on me.
That was actualized by the universal wave function or by something that was actualized by the universal wave
Right,
function.
but what I'm getting to is that you and I are actually intelligence.
Sure, and that would have been actualized by the universal wave function too.
Right, so that would stand to reason that wouldn't that at least have the characteristics of intelligence?
No.
Not necessarily, I guess, because if I were to cut your hair, it's not that. Well,
It's not like that the scissors have the property of short hair.
exactly. No, absolutely, yeah. So, no, you're right. So, I guess I'm just like thinking as I'm talking more so.
That's fine.
However, I think the issue. I think the issue remains with that. How do I put this? If there is a pure act, right, and you're defining that this thing is act, we would have to. I think that's kind of just where I hit a brick wall with that logic, honestly, as far as like I'm thinking through that.
And look, this is not surprising. Aristotle and I keep saying Thomas didn't know about quantum mechanics. They didn't know about the Page-Wooters mechanism. They didn't know about quantum mereology. So of course they're going to say, well, the only thing that could be pure act is a God. Okay, well, things have changed in the last 800 years, right? This is why I think that people who rely too heavily on Thomism, it's like why are you like, there are modern philosophers who think about things through a modern lens that use modern facts that we know about the world. I don't know why people rely on like 800-year-old philosophy.
Right. I think, like, I get your point. However, that in itself is insufficient insofar as like it does kind of become like this logical fallacy of some version of like an ad hominem. Well, not to me, but like to that person. But
no, it's not an ad hominem, because I just gave an explicit case of how why we know that, or at least one example of how Thomas was wrong. And so this is motivation for using more up-to-date philosophy that can take into account these new things that we know.
Right. Well, the example is definitely not an ad hominem, but saying, well, this person existed at this time, therefore it's invalid.
No, it's not invalid because they existed at that time. The fact that they existed at that time means that they were underinformed. And because they were underinformed, they came to incorrect conclusions, as demonstrated by the example.
All right, I'll concede on that point. I don't mean to be confrontational in that.
You're allowed to be confrontational, but you weren't being. Don't worry about it.
Okay, well, if it came out that way, it wasn't intentional. But I guess confrontational in the sense of like logically so, but not confrontational in like I guess like emotional.
It doesn't bother me either way. You're fine.
Okay, good. Doesn't bother me either, but no, I appreciate the conversation. Would you accept the possibility? Like, I know that maybe that question in itself is unfair in nature, but would you accept the possibility of a pure act, or would you believe it's
Well,
the
so
opposite
look,
possible?
look in the Thomistic tradition, I think that all there is pure act. But would I accept the possibility of pure act in contrast with the existence of potency? No, I don't think that that's the case.
That's interesting. Okay, and but in your worldview, potency doesn't exist at all.
Yeah.
Would in that belief system would the wave theory, the quantum wave theory, still be the pure act, or would it just not?
It could be.
It
It's
would
one.
just be
It's
fully
one.
absolute?
It's one possibility. You know, I'm not like 100% convinced of the this kind of universal wave function idea. I think it's very, very plausible. But you know, like I'm not gonna stake my life on it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and I don't want to get into semantics of like well, you know, based on the theistic definition of pure act, therefore you're conceding that there is a God because that would be silly. But I
It
think
would be. I
that
agree.
well, I've seen it before. Um,
I've seen it before too, and it's super bad faith.
yeah, well, maybe not necessarily bad faith in every case, but it definitely is like a non sequitur in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's just redefining what the theist thinks God is, right?
Right, and that would be kind of circular, wouldn't it? But
Well, it's circular, maybe, maybe not. But the point is that like if you concede that like God could be this universal wave function, and that's like gotcha. Well, then you can't be a Christian, right?
right, right. I think the issue with everything that's presented is, would you still believe with everything that we've put on the table thus far, or everything that is on the table in general? Do you believe that there is evidence for no God at all that could be substantiated
Yeah, I think there's
to
evidence for.
beyond the shadow?
Yeah, I mean, beyond the shadow of a doubt, it depends on the person's priors, but I think that there's absolutely evidence. I mean, the evidence is something like, look, if God is a being with a mind, whatever other properties God is supposed to have, God's supposed to have a mind, so God can have a will, God can have love. These are all things that minds do. All of the evidence in the world that we have suggests that minds are the kinds of things that are A, attached to bodies, and B, exist within time. Now, I'm not saying that minds are caused by bodies. I'm not saying that there is some sort of dependence relation between mind and body. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying that all of the evidence we have says that whenever there's a mind, there's a body attached. And whenever there's a mind, it's existing in time. And if both of those are true, and we have evidence to say that they are, then God is not the kind of thing that's possible because it's atemporal and it's disembodied.
Okay. And just to push like the boundary of like the foundation that you're standing on, I'll just for the sake of argument, I'll just take like a pessimistic standpoint. Why? Not that I necessarily believe it, but just to take that argument to test what you're standing on. Why should we believe that our current understanding or current data is sufficient to prove our current understanding when our ability to explore or perceive what is beyond us is so limited in
I
comparison
mean, this
to
is you could make that argument, but it's an argument against the scientific method, right? Because the scientific method just relies on producing evidence and then coming to conclusions based on that evidence. So if you're going to say like, yeah, well, we can't come to the conclusion that God doesn't exist because, we even like the inductive evidence it's not proof. Well, then you can't come to any scientific conclusions either. Right.
right.
And like, if that's a bullet you want to bite, by all means, but I think that that's a pretty good reductio.
Well, I think in a sense, it's overall positive for science to stall as much as possible until it's completely certain. I mean that's what the practice
Well,
would
no,
be.
the science never gets you to certainty. That's the point. You just keep building up evidence. So, like, for example, and you know, this is perhaps bad. This is perhaps a quite strong example. We have more evidence that every mind is attached to bodies than we do that the sun will rise tomorrow. Right? Like, there are more
Right.
minds attached to bodies than there have been days in human history. We've seen minds be attached to bodies more frequently than we've seen sunrises happen.
I keep seeing comments where people are saying debate Jesus and whatnot, debate Jesus and
I
whatnot.
would, but I sent him a message and he has ignored it. So, you know,
Oh,
go
has
to
he?
his page, tell him to debate me.
Yeah, I'll let him know. Like, hey, debate this guy. It'd be curious to see, but honestly, I have a suspicion as far as how that would play out, and it'd play out very similarly to our conversation, I suspect.
I
But
suspect as much, but he is, I suspect that he is far less, or far more dogmatic than you are.
would that be a good or a bad thing?
I think that that's a bad thing, that he would be far more dogmatic. I think that he would be less open to being like, yeah, okay, you know, this is like a point of disagreement, but like, you know, I can see how your thing makes sense and blah, blah, blah. He would be probably, I think that he's younger than you.
Yeah,
And
he is younger.
he's probably still overly confident. So
Yeah. I wish I could still be like that in a sense. It's fun.
tell me about
It's
it.
a fun way to live.
There was a time when I
No,
was
no.
like that too. But look, we are off topic. So unless you have anything else, I'm going to let you go up and bring up another guest.
Yeah, I
that
think we
fair?
reached a brick. No, that's absolutely fair. I think we reached a brick wall as far as
Okay.
the conversation, unfortunately. But hey, it was a pleasure talking to you, man. And
Likewise.
I am a fan too.
I appreciate that. Thanks for being here, man.
All right, take it easy.
All right, let's read some super chats and we'll move on to our next guest. From Catholic Thinker with the $5, I do a video on argument from motion and why it fails. Join in to listen and someone is running it. I'm sorry. I haven't seen the video, but I will. Can you tag me in it, Catholic Thinker? I guess you're on YouTube, so you probably can't. Just like DM it to me. I'd love to see it. From Ms. Ollie with the £5, what sort of god would turn water something that's good for you into alcohol something that's bad for you? Also, alcohol instead of blood. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Jesus was just drunk all the time? From Jeremiah Helkins, is that a SpongeBob shirt? Indeed it is. It's a SpongeBob anime shirt in particular. And from Gray Tarif with the $10, can you explain some complicated physics things with as much jargon as possible? I can, but it doesn't help anybody. If you want to see this, by the way, if you want to see me doing this, go check out my video. It's from like a month ago or maybe a month and a half ago. Check out my video explaining gravity in 5 levels, or alternatively explaining magnetism in 5 levels. The 5th level is an intentional jargon dump, just to, you know, kind of just for funsies, if you will. So yeah, you should check that out. It should be fun. Okay, let's bring up Sol Invictus. I think that he's back. Sol Invictus, how's it going?
Hello.
Howdy, Sol Invictus. Do you believe in God?
Yes. Hi, but English is not my first language, so I'm not fluent in it.
You sound fluent enough. If there's an issue, then there's an issue, but, you know, I think that's probably okay.
So I'm a Sikh. We believe in a single personal God.
Sure.
Do you know anything about Sikhism?
I don't know a lot, but so if you want to make an argument for the version of God that Sikhs believe in, I'm happy to hear it.
It's fine. I'm here. I don't really have like a good argument for like a god or something. I started reading Thomas Aquinas recently
That's a
because I
mistake.
tried getting divorced.
Aquinas is not the place you should be starting your philosophical journey. It doesn't make any sense. Like, maybe start with like Plato and like Socrates. Maybe that's like a good historical place, even though that's still kind of like delusional. But like, there are so much better places to start.
I know. It's kind of weird. I really wanted to. My entire thing was I got into debates like this due to my dislike of Christianity.
Sure.
essentially, right? And Thomas Aquinas for me was like, what do they think? Like, what does like Christian theologians they think about the religion
so
and how
Thomas
it works?
Aquinas tends to get you to like Catholicism or maybe Orthodox Christianity. But most of the people that you'll encounter, in real life, if you live, well, actually, I don't know where you live, so I guess it depends. But, you know, it doesn't get you to Protestantism, for example.
Oh,
It'll end up at like Catholicism, because it kind of requires like divine simplicity and this kind of stuff.
I guess I'll start reading something more recent then.
So here's what I would suggest.
I will finish.
So have you talked to allegedly Ian?
I'm planning to eventually.
Okay, yeah. So call into allegedly Ian, or just go to allegedly Ian's Discord server, and people will be able to recommend like good intro philosophy books that are like a good, and these are like the kinds of things that like they're not like atheist books or whatever. These are just like good intro philosophy books because they read a lot of that stuff over there.
I'll try after the call. There's something related to this that I've been thinking about. It's not really Thomas Aquinas or something.
Okay, yeah, what's
it's
up?
Different.
Is it an argument for something? Because otherwise, like, this is a debate space, right?
Kind of.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Kind of. Okay, so do you believe that God would be a necessary existence if he existed?
I mean, I guess it depends on the God that you're talking about, but sure. I mean, we could grant that. If it exists, then it's necessary, sure.
I would just say God is like a mind that created everything, you know,
Sure.
omnipotent, omnipresent,
Sure.
right? Would you grant that if there are infinite universes, that one of them could be created by God?
No, I wouldn't.
Why
Well, I mean, like,
would you
look,
not?
so you could have infinite universes, and in none of them 2 + 2 will be 5. Right? Like,
But-
it's just because there's an infinite number of universes doesn't mean that everything that's like anything that you can say is possible.
So, like, God would not be logically possible in any universe, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I see. I actually don't really have a lot to talk about. I really want to know, like, what you think of time, and if, like,
I think
God
that
would
time
exist
is-
outside of time.
I'm more and more leaning that time is emergent, that time's not like a fundamental aspect of reality, that it's really emergent from something deeper.
I've heard, like, I don't know if it was like a physics professor or something, but I've heard a lot of people say like time is like a fourth dimension,
Yep, that's the classical view.
and like, do you believe like God could be outside of time? In
If
a
it
sense?
is, then it doesn't exist. That's the contention. That's the problem.
The contention would be like that change only exists in time.
No, that
like,
minds
God
only
changes?
exist in time.
But okay, I really have nothing else here.
Okay.
I just really wanted to talk to you once because I've
That's
been
fair.
watching your channel for a while.
Well, I appreciate it, but I'm going to let you go because this is a debate space. But thanks for being here,
Okay.
Sol Invictus. Take care.
Thank you. I'll come.
Oh, I cut him off a little bit early. Yeah, Sol Invictus, make sure to go check out Ian's Discord server. They will have good recommendations for you. From Ms. Ollie with the £5. Plato and Socrates are also late places to start. We should start with pre-Socratics. Yeah, I guess you could, but like, if you want to understand like the story of Western philosophy, then like Socrates or Plato are probably safe starting places. You probably don't have to go much earlier than that. I just want to double check something. Okay, 1 sec. Let me make sure that I haven't gotten any cash apps or super chats or anything like that. Okay, have not. So we can bring on our next guest. Let us talk to Max is back. Is back. Back again. Max is back. How's it going?
Yo, what's up, man? How are you going? How are you doing, man?
I'm doing okay. I didn't sleep a whole lot because my cat was horrible. But, you know, aside from that, I'm doing okay. Yeah, that's fine.
That's what's up, bro. Yeah, so I'm 21. I'm of age.
Cool.
And I go back as him. not a her. So just
Based.
heads up for that.
Faith's pronouns.
I've been on a lot of. I was gonna say before we get started, I've been on a lot of debates and stuff like that. I've had a lot of people kick me out of the debates. I just want to know if you agree, to debate with me and not, kick me out.
Well, yeah,
if
I
it
mean, like
comes
if you start shouting slurs and stuff, I'm gonna kick you out. But as long as you stay normal, then like, yeah,
Oh
you
yeah,
can stick on until
I
we're
can
done
agree.
with the
I can
conversation.
agree to that. Oh yeah, for
like,
sure.
Like I'm
I
not
can-
like, like if you're acting like super bad faith, then yeah, like I won't have that. But like if you're just being like a normal person having a conversation, sure.
Right, and I can agree to that too as well. So basically, yeah, I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions before we get started.
Before you do that,
so-
I just want to check that you believe in God. You do, right?
Yes, I do believe in a God. Yes.
Okay, and it's like some Western conception of God, or perhaps some like.
No, it's just the basic. I'm just going to keep it basic. It's just the basic Christianity,
Okay,
version
sure.
of God.
Yeah. As long as by God you don't mean like a water bottle, then sure. Yeah. Okay. Go
Right,
ahead, ask your
right.
questions.
I understand.
Yeah.
So I believe in the basic, Holy Bible, whatever the case might be. So yeah, I just wanted to basically ask you. So what are your thoughts? Are you like complete atheist? Were you ever once a Christian before, or did you turn atheist?
I was never a Christian. No.
Okay, so you was never a Christian, just straight atheist.
Yeah.
Okay. And did any conclusion? Did you just come to conclusion that that's something that you wanted to be, or is it something that you just figured that was
just,
only
as long back as I can remember, it's always seemed like kind of silly to me, the whole God thing.
So basically, in a sense, like you did your own type of research, right? As
I
far
mean,
as when it comes
honestly, like my earliest memory of even conceptualizing this was my mom telling me that God is everywhere, and then I pointed to like a guy, and I'm like, does that mean that God's there? And she said, yeah, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And so I'm like, okay, none of this, like, what do you mean God's everywhere? And so like I wasn't like doing research as like a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old or whatever, but like it just the ideas just didn't make any sense to me.
Right. And I can totally understand that. So yeah, like I said, I was going to keep it basic. So the word God, right? When we talk about God, I feel as if, would you agree that, and ask me, just be honest with me. Would you agree the word God comes from the word good?
Maybe. I don't know the etymological history.
I mean, it's just if we were to add another O in there, it'll probably be good. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, like we can look it up. We can look up the etymological history if you want.
Right. No, I don't say we have to look it up. I'm just saying if there was another O in the word God, it would be good. I mean, there could be a chance. You know what I'm saying?
So, okay, so the English word God comes from the Old English noun God, which derives from the Proto-Germanic guthon or guda, which I guess means that which is invoked.
Okay.
And I guess it comes from the Proto-Indo-European word gut, which is that which is invoked, from the root word to call or to invoke, which is gu. So like it doesn't have anything to do with the word good, apparently.
Okay, I mean, essentially, it could be possibly coming to conclusion of what it actually inherits. It could be coming from the word good. Now, the reason why I say that is because in the Bible, it actually and I'm not going to point out any just specific scriptures or anything. Just talking about the whole Bible itself. In the Bible, it talks of the word of God, and when it talks of the word of God, is essentially saying to do good. So,
well, except the times when it doesn't, but. I mean, like, sure, that might be the case.
Do you believe that it doesn't talk about good, or are you saying that the Bible
there are times where God tells you to do not good things, right?
And like, where can you point that out? Can you give me an example?
Yeah, when God orders the Israelites to genocide the Amalekites, including like the infants, like that's obviously not good.
Right. Okay, so in your interpretation, you figured that there's some little things here and there in the Bible.
Well, I don't know if commanding a genocide is a little thing, but there is at least one thing, perhaps more, where God is like, yeah, here's a thing that you shouldn't do.
Okay, so he's essentially giving you...
here's a thing that you should do, and it's evil.
Okay, so there's essentially things that God's giving orders, is what you're saying.
Yep, and sometimes those orders are evil.
Okay, but in your opinion, that's an opinion, right? I mean, we're just all saying, because when people say
do you think
evil,
that genocide is evil?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily. I mean, it depends on how you interpret it, because you can interpret it. I can interpret it one way.
Is genocide ever good?
Well, that's an opinion, though. Then again, we're still going back to.
I'm just asking you whatever your view of good and evil is. Do you think that genocide is the good kind of thing or the evil kind of thing, or maybe it's neutral?
I think it's neutral. Depending
you think
on
that
how
genocide is neutral. You think that there's a case where
this is what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is, I believe that whatever the Bible is trying to tell us, it can interpret good or evil. Not necessarily meaning it's evil, but it could interpret that route, whether you want to take it for evil or use it for good. I mean, but God, overall,
look, is there ever a case where like slaughtering babies is like a good thing, or even a neutral thing?
I mean, I believe that it talks about the evil times. Now, I don't think God was saying, "Oh, we should go out here and slaughter babies" in the Bible. I don't think that's something he was saying.
It literally says that with regard to the Amalekites.
Now, are you interpreting that, or
no.
are you?
No,
because it looks like that you're interpreting what you feel the Bible is saying.
One sec. Let me pull it up for you. 1 Samuel 15. Here, I'll pull it up. Here it is.
Okay.
And, you know, we can look at the entire chapter. We don't just have to look at one verse. Samuel said to Saul, "I am the one the Lord sent to anoint you king over his people Israel. So listen now to the message from the Lord. This is what the Lord Almighty says. I will punish the Amalekites for what they did to Israel when they waylaid them as they came up from Egypt. Now go, attack the Amalekites and totally destroy all that belongs to them. Do not spare them. Put to death men and women, children and infants, cattle and sheep, camels and donkeys." So God is explicitly telling them to kill children and infants. This is babies. Infants are babies.
Okay, so you're saying that he's putting them up to doing it. Okay, that.
Yeah, he's
but
telling
the
them
thing
to do
is,
it.
okay, but we can agree that when the Bible talks about certain topics, that he could actually use subliminal messages. Not saying we should go out here and kill babies or anything, but we can interpret into the way you're saying. Like, if you do evil, evil comes back in return. Essentially, he's talking about karma here. This is just a definition of karma. I mean, we get that every day. I mean, you get
So are
karma.
you telling me that are you telling me that there are scenarios where it's okay to go kill children and infants?
I'm telling you that when God used those words, he's using it to describe the times within doing evil.
No, this is supposed to be a thing that like actually happened. This isn't a story. Unless you think
Right.
the Bible is a story.
No, I'm not saying the Bible is a story. I think the Bible personally is something that we should look into as taking it within our own self. Not saying that we should go and believe in a book. You know what I'm saying? That's not something I believe in.
I don't know what you're saying. Like, did this actually happen? Did God actually command this or not?
I mean, it's depending on how you want to. I mean, do you have faith or not? You know what I'm saying?
You
like,
on your view.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Like, do you have? Okay, so when you go out, right, and if you ever were to go outside and say, "Well, I'm going to get in my car and I'm going to go here," right? You have faith that you're going to get in your car and you're going to do what you're about to do, right? I mean, that's just common sense.
I'm asking you about your this is an internal critique, right? I'm asking you about your view. Do you think that God actually said these things?
I believe yes. I believe he said those things.
So then God gave them a command to kill infants.
No, but you have to look at the whole story.
We did look at the whole story. You can keep reading and it just gets worse, by the way.
Right, but these are little sections. Okay, we can go by little sections all day, but we won't really know what God was meaning when he said those words if you can't read the whole story.
Okay. So
you're just giving me little parts and beats.
Hold on. We can keep going. So what happens is that they go and they do it. And then Samuel tells Saul to go do this thing, to take your army and go slaughter the Amalekites.
Can you stop right there? Because you just said that Samuel told Saul to go do. So now we have now we can agree.
Samuel's a prophet.
Right. So now we can agree there was a cause and effect.
Samuel is speaking for God. This is what the Lord Almighty says. Okay,
so if he commanded somebody to do something, then there obviously was either a cause or effect for him to command somebody.
I don't know. Look. So here's
why
would
he get somebody? Why would he command somebody to do something if there was not a cause for it?
We actually know why. So in fact, it says why. I will punish the Amalekites for what they did to Israel when they waylaid them as they came up from Egypt. So if you go back and read, hold on. If you go back and you read in earlier parts of the Bible, like Exodus, Leviticus, I think it's in Exodus. If you go back and read in Exodus, there is a story about the Hebrews leaving, or I guess they're Hebrews at this point. So the Hebrews, they leave Egypt, and then they are like the Amalekites. This is like 400, 500 years prior. The Amalekites attack them, And then the Israelites or the Hebrews win. They, the Amalekites attack them, and then the Hebrews win, and they fight off the Amalekites, and everybody's happy, and it's fine. And then like 500 years later, God is like, oh yeah, now that you're back here, you should go kill all of the Amalekites, including the babies.
Okay,
Is
but
that-
what you
does that
just,
make it
okay, let's
okay?
go based off what you just read, because what you just read to me is showing what I just said when I said that we are talking about karma here. God used that interpretation for what they did to the
By the way,
Israelites.
karma's not part of a Christian belief system.
No, karma is the cause and effect of something. So because they did something to the Israelites,
Sorry, did the infants
got
do
their
something?
karma.
Did the infants do something?
It doesn't matter if you're an infant or not. I mean, if you do something
Sure it
bad,
does,
you get
because
bad.
the
No,
infants
listen.
didn't do
If you
anything.
do
They
something, the
weren't
code of
alive.
law.
They
No,
weren't
the
alive,
code.
right?
No, the code. We're going based off the code of law because the Bible doesn't.
There is no code
what
of
you're,
law
what
that
you're
says
failing to forget.
kill
What you're failing to
infants.
forget. Okay, but if an infant does evil, if an infant
The
goes out
infant
here and
didn't do evil.
Okay,
The
but can
infant
an
is an
infant?
infant.
Okay, but if an infant was to grab a knife and stab you with it,
That's
you
not what
would.
the infants didn't do that.
Right, but an infant
Also,
could
no,
do
you wouldn't
that.
you wouldn't be justified in killing an infant if an infant did that to you.
No, but that's not what it's saying. It's saying that karma is karma. He's not saying
There's
go
no
kill
karma
infants.
here. This is not.
He's describing-
There's
he's
no karma
describing-
in
he's-
Christianity. B, the infants are innocent, right?
How? But what I'm trying to get you to understand is how is there no karma in Christianity if Christianity follows the code of law?
Well,
It follows the literally living
there's
system
no
code
such
of
thing
law.
called the code of law. That's not a thing in Christianity. It's not
So
a thing
you're
in
telling
anything.
me there's no
But
good and
neither-
evil
please,
on this
please.
world? Are you telling?
I thought we were
No,
gonna
listen.
I thought we were gonna have a normal conversation, which means like let's not interrupt each other over and over again and like shout over each other. Okay?
Yeah, I
So
understand
like,
that.
look, the point is even if you believe in karma, the infants didn't do anything. They're innocent. That's they're literally infants.
Okay, but you're taking what he said literally. He probably this is what
Yeah.
you're understanding.
Why
where
would
you're
he
not
say
understanding.
children and infants if he didn't mean children and
But
infants?
the Bible doesn't speak literally. You can't say the Bible is speaking
here's-
literally. It doesn't speak
how we
literally.
Can know? You know how we can know that he meant it literally? Because
Oh
after
no,
Samuel,
you don't have proof. You don't have proof that he meant it literally. You can
No,
only
I do,
say
I
that
do.
he meant it.
No, I can explain how we know. So after Samuel tells Saul to go do this, Saul was king of the Israelites at the time. Saul goes and he sort of does it, but he doesn't kill everybody. And so then,
Exactly.
then hold on,
So
I'm
that's not
done.
literal.
I'm not,
That's
please
not
let
literal.
please let me finish. And then the word of the God came to Samuel. I regret that I have made Saul king because he has turned away from me and has not carried out my instructions. So God literally talks to the prophet and says, I can't believe I made Saul king. He didn't listen to my instructions. My instructions were to kill
Essentially
everybody,
karma.
and they didn't
If
kill
you do
everybody.
not listen, that's literally karma. That dude, you're basically explaining karma that I just said. That's the code of law. That is what we use today as karma. If you do not follow instructions of the law, you will go to jail. That's literal karma, dude.
So
I mean,
so it
how
was
can
literal.
you
He
prove
did
me
want him
wrong?
to
How
kill
can you
everybody.
prove me wrong and say the Bible's wrong when it's following the literal code of following law?
So then we agree that God did mean it literally because he was mad when Saul didn't follow the orders literally.
No. You're taking his word literal. I'm not saying his word literal. I'm saying he's following the literal code of law, which he's trying to get. You can use wording, not meaning it literal, to get an explanation across. Is what I'm trying to get you to understand.
Look, so if God wasn't being literal, that he actually wanted Saul to go kill all of these people and these animals, why would he get mad when Saul didn't kill all of these people and these animals?
So where are you getting that from? First off,
the part where it
read
says,
the scripture. Where are you getting that
the
from?
word of the Lord came to Samuel. I regret that I have made Saul king because he has turned away from me and has not carried out my instructions. That's how we know that God's mad at Saul.
Okay, so he's mad at Saul for not carrying the instructions. Now, what instructions did he give Saul?
It's like 3 paragraphs earlier. Now go attack the Amalekites and totally destroy all that belongs to them. Do not spare them. Put to death men and women, children and infants, cattle and sheep, camels and donkeys. Those are the instructions.
Right. So essentially, he's talking
and he didn't follow
about
those instructions.
Right, but essentially, he's talking about karma. But he's basically telling Saul, because he did not follow the instructions of karma, that people are getting away with for doing wrong shit.
No,
that is essentially
you're confused
a code.
again.
No, that's what's going on today in this world.
So you're confused again. So Saul did kill a lot of people. He just didn't kill all of the animals.
Right, that did wrong, right?
So Saul went, and I mean, we can just read it. So Saul summoned the men and mustered them at Telaim, 200,000 foot soldiers and 10,000 from Judah. Saul went to the city of Amalek and set an ambush in the ravine. Then he said to the Kenites, "Go away, leave the Amalekites so that I do not destroy you along with them, for you showed kindness to all the Israelites when they came out of Egypt." So the Kenites moved away from the Amalekites. Fine. Then Saul attacked the Amalekites all the way from Havilah to Shur, near the eastern border of Egypt. He took Agag, king of the Amalekites, alive, and all his people he totally destroyed with a sword. But Saul and the army spared Agag and the best of the sheep and cattle, the fat calves and lambs, everything that was good. These they were unwilling to destroy completely, but everything that was despised and weak they totally destroyed. So what we see from this is that Saul didn't kill all of the men, because he left the king alive, and he didn't kill all of the sheep, the cattle, the fat calves, and the please. I thought you said you weren't going to interrupt me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So he didn't kill all of the men, even though God tells him to kill all of the men, and he didn't kill all of the sheep and cattle, the fat calves and the lambs, the things that are like useful for them and convenient, like, you know, food sources. Even though God told him to kill all of the men and the women and the children and infants, and also all of the cattle and sheep and the camels and the donkeys. So he didn't follow God's instruction. And then,
what you're not getting, though, is he didn't kill all of the men because they were good.
No.
You don't kill good people.
The only
he killed the ones that were evil. He didn't kill the ones that were good.
You're missing that. So he took King Agag.
He spared them.
Yeah, he took Agag, king of the Amalekites, alive, and all his people he totally destroyed with a sword. So it's not because King Agag was good. It doesn't say that anywhere. The relevant part about things being good is like the calves and the lambs. Like he took like healthy animals because they're useful. They're not like morally good. Like calves and lambs aren't morally good. They're just animals. But they're, you know, they're good food sources, right? So he spared the king, not because he was good, but because he was the king. And he spared some of these animals because, you know, it's useful to have animals around because you can eat them and stuff like that. And that was breaking the instruction that God sent him. He turned away from me and has not carried out my instructions, so that's why God was mad. So if God was only talking figuratively, if he wasn't talking literally, why would he be mad at Saul for not following the figurative instructions?
Because he was not carrying out the code of law. I mean, when you're following, listen, when you're following, listen, you're going back to what I'm saying.
The instructions are this. These are the instructions, right?
That. Right.
So if those are the instructions and he's mad that he didn't carry them out, that means that those instructions were intended literally.
Okay, now if you had instructions that you weren't carrying out, wouldn't your mother be mad at you? Let's be honest.
Only if she intended them literally.
Okay, but we can't not lie. Okay, for the overall book of the Bible is what I'm trying to get here, because I don't think you really understand. The overall book of the Bible is talking about information that not necessarily we have to believe in, but to take in our own lives. Do you agree?
Sorry, one more time.
Oh my God. The book of the Bible is for us to take in for our own selves, not to believe in a story that was told to us.
So it's a story now.
No, I didn't say it was a story. I said to not, no, that's what I'm saying. That's two interpretations that you're just now making. I'm making it into one interpretation of the Bible. You're taking it into two literal interpretations.
So look, did this really happen or not? Because earlier you agreed that
no.
God
What I'm saying is the Bible, this is what I'm saying. The Bible follows the code of law, which is the law that we have today, which is the 10 Commandments, because we know this. And it also follows one interpretation.
I have no idea
so
what you're talking about.
You cannot have two interpretations when you don't really know what it's talking about. I mean, we can sit here and go all day about scriptures, but you can't say that God said this if you don't actually know what he's trying to say.
Apparently, I do know the scripture here, and you don't.
Well, if you know the scripture, then you know God, right? So we can say you know God, huh?
Well, no, I don't think that God's real. Like, I know that, I read the Harry Potter books, and I know the Harry Potter books. I don't think that means that I know Harry Potter.
Okay, yeah. Can I ask you something? Please. If Harry Potter was real, do you think he would write a book so that you would know the knowledge that he knew when he passed down the book? Okay, so why wouldn't you believe in a God?
Because I don't think that the existence of a book implies the existence of the characters that the book is talking about.
But what I'm trying to get you to understand, the book literally is following a law that we follow today. If you look at the book, it literally follows the law to do good.
Except when it involves killing babies.
No, that's not essentially what it is, you know.
Well, but I mean, that's part of the book.
I mean, you can interpret it like that.
Well,
That's not
it literally says kill the babies, right? This is not an interpretation issue.
But what I'm trying to get you to understand is when you actually read the Bible, and you
like
actually,
we just did.
No, but you can't. But what you're doing is you're coming for your own opinion.
No,
I
I'm
mean,
just reading the
all
words.
the things that you're saying is your own opinion. You don't have any scientific evidence
there's no
to back
opinion.
you up on this.
It's just the words, right?
Right, it's
I
just
wasn't
the words.
injecting opinion. I was just reading what the words say.
But you're interpreting what the word means.
Well, words do have meanings. Like when it says "and," that's a conjunction. That's a conjunctive part of speech. And when the word says "replied," it means that somebody is, speaking or writing in response to another. Like the words have meanings.
So what is subliminal message? What is subliminal messages then? If there's
usually something that is trying to convey some meaning on top of.
So if we are saying
why are you
that,
interrupting me again?
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right.
Subliminal messaging is the kind of thing where you're trying to convey some sort of secret meaning underneath something that's usually gibberish or not particularly meaningful.
Okay, but we can agree that subliminal messaging exists. I mean, and we could use the Bible because we could say
prove that it's
God
in the Bible,
wrote this Bible. Right. So if subliminal messaging exists, then you can't really determine your own opinion about the Bible when it could be subliminal messaging.
Okay, so how do you know that the Bible is about anything good at all when it could be subliminal messaging about
because if you actually interpret it,
do evil.
Okay. So if you can actually interpret the Bible in a good way, it actually benefits you. That's
but
why
that doesn't mean that that's the true message.
It's the true message if you can use it in the true essence. You're not using it in a true essence. I have no idea what that
means. What does that mean? I'm not using it. I'm just reading it. I'm not even using it at all.
Okay, let me break it down for you. If you take the knowledge that somebody's giving it to you and you use it for good, you can essentially do good. If you take knowledge and you use it for bad, you're not going to get anywhere because you're using it for evil. In better sense, you're going to have karma.
Wait,
this is what karma is. No, this is literally simple shit.
Tell that to the slave owners. Like the slave owners usually literally use the Bible.
This is simple shit here, and you're trying to disagree with me, but you can't because you can't prove that I'm wrong.
Well, so if you want to make your point, you should actually let me address it rather than just like
address
asserting
my point.
that.
Address it because you can't address it.
So here's an example of people who benefited from using the Bible for evil. The example would be Southern slave owners who lived and died before 1860. They benefited from the Bible using it for evil. So I don't know. That's a counterexample.
For evil. How do you know that? How do you know that?
Because you can go look for historical documentation and you'll find that slave owners repeatedly used the Bible to justify slavery.
Who said that this all came to an end? We're still.
Who said that? What all came to? What are you talking about?
Okay,
I was just giving you an example of somebody using the Bible for evil. And they benefited from it.
Okay, but how can you say they benefited from it if you don't know if they actually benefited
because
at all?
They died rich. They died rich and happy. That's how.
So they died rich and happy, but they died. Yeah. So I mean, I just don't see how you can benefit. So in my sense, you're saying that whatever you take, if anybody was to give you some type of knowledge, whether you're doing good or evil, if you do evil, you're still going to be successful. Is what you believe in. What you're saying to the people is that's what you. No, that's what you believe.
No,
because that's essentially what you're saying. That's got to be what you're saying.
No, that's a straw man.
Yes, that's essentially what you're saying.
No,
and that's not a good way to think.
But you're just like, yeah. So you made the claim that you can't use the Bible for evil and benefit from it. I wasn't saying that, and so I gave you a counterexample. I'm not saying that everybody who uses the Bible for evil benefits from it.
But you're using subliminal messaging. You're using subliminal messaging again.
I'm not. Why are you interrupting me again? Chill. The point is that you can use the Bible for evil and still benefit. That doesn't mean that every time you use the Bible for evil you will benefit, just that you can, because your claim was that you can't use the Bible for evil and benefit.
No. I said that you can I know I did. I never said that. I said people can take the Bible and read the Bible and use it for their own evil knowledge or use it for their good evil knowledge. I never said they could or couldn't, but I said if they do use it for good, they will benefit from it. That's what I said. I never said that they couldn't.
Okay,
why would I say that you couldn't?
Okay, then I misunderstood. So the reason it sounded like this was the reason why you were giving this argument was because you wanted to justify the claim that the way you know that the Bible is written for good is because when you interpret the Bible for good, that its instructions to do good, then you benefit. But if the claim is that because you can use the Bible for good and therefore benefit from it, that means that the Bible is the actual meaning, the intended meaning of the Bible is to do good, well, then the examples of people using the Bible for evil and benefiting from it would therefore imply that the intended meaning of the Bible is to do evil.
No, the reason why you're saying that is because you would put that in statistics, saying that everybody is doing crime rates and everybody's going to shambles. Is what you're trying to say.
I didn't say any of that. No, I didn't say any of that.
No, what I'm saying is you're essentially saying that because people have they have the choice to use the Bible for good and evil, you're essentially saying that it's more people doing evil than good.
No, I'm not saying that either.
That's what you're interpreting to me.
No. Okay, well, then you could just ask rather than just assuming what I'm talking about.
I mean, what are you trying to say? Are you saying that if people use the Bible for good, for evil, they can benefit from evil?
What I'm saying, and I'll repeat it again. So we were arguing about what the intended meaning of the Bible is. You said your original claim is that the Bible is like a book for good. So it's a rephrasing. It's not your exact words, but it's roughly what you were saying.
Right,
I gave a counterexample in the Bible where it says that, there's something that's like very clearly not good in it. But you're saying, oh, well, that's because it's subliminal messaging. That's because that's not actually what was meant. And the way we can know that that's not what was actually meant is that when you use the Bible for good, good things happen to you. And therefore that informs on the intention of the author of the Bible. But if it's the case that you can also use the Bible for evil and benefit, that would therefore imply, using that same reasoning, it would therefore imply that we can infer that the intention of the author of the Bible is for evil.
So you're saying, no. So you're saying, this is what I'm getting from it. You're saying because of the simple fact that when people read the Bible, what the Bible says, depending on how people interpret in their own opinion about the Bible, it can essentially be misleading in a sense. But you're not going to say, you're not going to say that literally, but I get what you're trying to say. You're saying that when it says stuff in the Bible, like what you just referred, you're saying that it shows evil. But what I'm trying to get you to understand is you're supposed to find the good through evil. This is what essentially God or good is. Good is, there's no good if you can't find good in evil.
How do you know
like
you're supposed to find the good in the evil?
Okay, so for instance, if you're going to work and you have somebody that's messing with you at the job, essentially you're still going to go to work and you're going to try to have a positive attitude, even though you have people that's messing with you, right?
It's
Am
not
I
addressing,
wrong or right?
Well, it's just not addressing what I'm saying. So your claim.
Okay,
is
let me give you a better example. example.
I don't want an example. My question was not the kind of question that requires an example. My question was, how do you know that the Bible is intended to be read as instructions for good? How do you know that?
So like you said, we can interpret the word God as, like you said, back to the word good.
No,
right?
we can't. We've already debunked this. We debunked this like.
Well, you said we
28
debunked
minutes
it,
ago.
but if you look back, it literally says that it goes back to the word good. I mean,
it
we can just
literally
look
doesn't.
and see.
It literally doesn't.
There's like a 95% possibility. You know what I'm saying? You're about 10%.
I'll just show you the etymology of the word God. The word God, and this is like Etmo Online is like a really good source for etymology. It provides its sources. It comes from Proto-Germanic Guthon, Frisian Dutch God, Old High Germanic Gott, and this originally comes from gut, that which is invoked. That which is invoked, it does not mean good.
So in other words, you're trying to debunk the Bible, huh? Is that what we're doing here? Debunking the Bible.
No, although I mean
that's what
generally.
you're doing, because you're saying that the Bible could have been for evil too.
What I'm saying is that you don't have any justification for the claim that the Bible, everything in the Bible is intended to be understood as instructions to do good. You don't have any justification for that. Okay, what is the justification?
I do have justification.
Please.
I just said, when you listen to the Bible in a good concept, in a good way, it benefits you. If you don't take it in a good way, it doesn't benefit you. Meaning,
But I gave you a
vice
counterexample.
versa.
I gave you a counterexample for that.
Yes, but you said, okay, because
So
there's
it's-
one
so
little script
that
that you
argument's
feel in
debunked.
your own opinion. No, because you use one little script that you feel in your
I
own
wasn't referring
opinion.
to scripture. The counterexample wasn't scripture. The counterexample was slave owners prior to 1860 in the United
Okay.
States.
Now, that's an opinion, though, that you're going back to your own
Not an
opinion.
There's no opinion
That
here.
is definitely an
Slave
opinion.
owners existed. They utilized the Bible to justify their slavery. They benefited materially from it.
Okay, but
Those
listen,
are
if I
facts.
was to, okay, so can we agree that if I was to read a story and you were to read a story and I was to say, well, this story means something totally different than what you think it means, then we would be on a totally different page.
Sure,
Totally
but that's
different
not the
page.
claim. Here, let me play back what you said. So please don't interrupt. These are going to be your own words, okay? No, although...
I mean, into the Bible in a good context.
what is the
I do
justification?
have justification.
Please.
I just said, when you listen to the Bible in a good concept, in a good way, it benefits you. If you don't take it in a good way, it doesn't benefit you.
So those were your words. And you said, when you don't take the Bible in a good way, it doesn't benefit you. But there is an explicit counterexample of not taking the Bible in a good way, namely the interpretation that slave owners used to justify their slavery, and it still benefited them. This is a counterexample to the claim that
You're
if you
saying
take the Bible
because
in a
they
bad
took
way,
out-
it doesn't benefit you.
So you're saying because it says, and to your knowledge, it's saying that the Bible took out people that were essentially bad, and you're saying that was a bad thing to take out people that were essentially bad, doing wrong for the environment, maybe even the economy. You're saying that from the Bible saying to take out bad people, demonic people, that's a bad thing?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm giving you an example of people.
Literally what you're saying. You're
It's
saying
literally
that
not what
Bible
I'm saying. Listen first. Listen with, you have two ears and one mouth for a reason. Listen with your ears, not with your mouth. What I'm saying is that you made a claim. You made a very specific claim that if you don't listen to the Bible for good, if you interpret the Bible, if you understand the Bible to justify evil, then it won't benefit you. Now, you said those words.
Right.
However, slave owners in like early 1800s America used the Bible for evil. They used it to justify slavery. And yet, according to you, that shouldn't have benefited them. But it did, because they died rich and happy.
Where is the proof for that, my friend?
Oh, you want proof that like slave owners
I
used the
want
Bible
proof
to
for
justify?
that, my friend.
Yeah,
my friend,
okay.
we're talking. Since you want to put in scientific shit, let's go to proof for that. Because I want the proof that slave owners used to use this book.
Yeah, sure.
And you're basically saying somebody rewrote the Bible in a sense.
No, they just interpreted certain verses to mean certain things. Here's an article from
So it goes back to
time.com.
my thing. It goes back to your concept that you don't even believe God wrote the Bible from the begin with. You believe it came from slave owners. So you're essentially justifying
Here's
your
a source,
beliefs.
by the way. I have no idea what all of the gibberish you just said was. The point is that like this is a well-known historical fact that slave owners used the Bible to justify
Here,
slavery.
my friend, I want the proof, the evidence, the goddamn, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Let's
okay.
hear this.
Out of the more than 750,000 words in the Bible, Christian slaveholders, and if asked, most slaveholders would have defined themselves as Christian, had two favorite texts, one from the beginning of the Old Testament and the other from the end of the New Testament. In the words of the King James Bible, which was the version of then current, these were the first. It's Genesis 9 verses 18 through 27. I can go pull up that verse for you because it seems like it's not displaying here. Genesis 9:18. Genesis 9:18 through 27. So 18 is the sons of Noah who came out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. These were the three sons of Noah. From them came blah, 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 blah. And then Noah, man of the soil, proceeded, blah, 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 blah. By the way, the relevant here thing is, cursed be Canaan,
wait a
the
minute,
lowest
though.
of slaves will he be to his brothers. So this is one of the verses that was used to justify slavery.
Okay. And wait a minute. So you're saying, okay, because what I interpret from you was you were saying that slave owners wrote the book.
No,
Am I
I
not
didn't say
correct?
that. You were incorrect.
So you're saying they interpret this Bible and did it for evil.
Yes.
Okay, so if they interpret this Bible and did it for evil, essentially, what the hell happened to the slave owners? Because we don't have no slavery today. I don't see any slave. We got freedom right
Well,
now.
to be clear, there is
are you
still
saying
tons
no?
of
You're
slavery
basically
today.
saying that slave owners rule the world. But where's the slaves
Nope,
at, dude?
didn't say that. Didn't say that.
But you just said
I
that
was
they used the
very
Bible
specific.
for evil.
I was very specific. So the point is that slave owners who died prior to 1860, so slavery was abolished in the United States in 1865, right? With the Emancipation Proclamation.
Why was it ended?
We can talk about that in a minute, but I don't know why you're interrupting me again. Why are you interrupting me again? So some slave owners died before 1860, meaning that they lived and they died. Maybe they were born in 1790 or whatever, and they died before 1860. Lived 70 years, totally expected. Now, prior to 1860, please, why I'm in the middle. What are you doing? I understand why people kick you. You have such a problem interrupting people. Let me finish a thought, okay?
Yeah, you go ahead. Go ahead.
So prior to 1860, there would have been slave owners who use verses like Genesis 9, verse 18 to 27, who use verses like that to justify owning black people. And then they got rich because of their slavery. They owned plantations. They lived happily because they didn't have to do hard labor. And then they died before having to deal with any sorts of negative consequences for their evil. They died rich and happy. And they used the Bible to do that.
Okay. So let me say this then.
The point is that these people are people who interpreted the Bible for evil and then benefited from it.
Okay. So if they benefited from it, right, why didn't they hold this power? Why did they fall short? If they benefited from the Bible and they knew that, hey, we could use this Bible for evil, why didn't they continue to use the Bible for evil and keep ruling the world? Why did they stop with slavery? Why did slavery end? And how do you know these people?
Like I'm talking about like individual people. I'm not talking about like slave owners as a whole. I'm talking about like individual slave owners. Individual slave owners benefited from interpreting the Bible for evil. That's just a fact.
So why didn't they keep on doing it?
Because they died. Like they lived, 70 or 80 years and then they died. What do you mean they keep on doing it? They were dead.
Yeah, but they were slave owners.
Yeah,
right. They were slave owners. So if they're slave owners, they're already, by law, they're already doing something bad because they
by law, it was totally legal.
But what I'm trying to get you to understand is it didn't last forever.
You're right. I never made the claim that it did. But it lasted longer than these people's lives.
No. But your claim was that if you interpret the Bible for evil, then you can use that power from the Bible to do evil. Now, I'm telling you that it doesn't work because obviously slavery doesn't exist to this day, and you prove me if I'm wrong, but slavery doesn't exist to this day, so you can't really say it benefited somebody when it didn't benefit shit.
Well, wait a minute, hold on. Do you think that like the slave owner who was born in 1790 and he inherited his father's slaves or whatever, and then he justified his continued slave ownership by citing the Bible. Do you think that, and he owned a giant plantation, and he got super rich, and he got to eat all of the foods that he wanted to, and he got to travel to all of the places that he wanted to, and he got to live as good a life as he possibly could. And then he died before any consequences came because, he died before 1860, which means that there was no Civil War. I'm in the middle of a sentence. Yes, I'm in the middle of a sentence. Do you think that slave owner who was born in 1790, died in 1859, who lived a life of pure joy, of no hard labor, do you think that person benefited from using the Bible for evil?
Well, naturally, if they died, I don't think they benefited shit. I mean, if they benefited,
then nobody benefits from anything because everybody dies.
But good does. That's what I'm trying to get you to understand. Okay, so let me get you an example. So we can agree that black people and white people use the Bible, right? Correct?
All sorts of people use the Bible, yeah.
Okay, exactly. Well, back then we could say that black people and white people use the Bible because we know this because there was black slaves that got a hold to the Bible, and that's scientifically proven.
Well, not scientifically, it's historically proven. Yes, black people did. Some black people were able to read the Bible. True.
Okay, so if the white people use the Bible for evil and the black people use the Bible for good, then we can't say that the white people actually won because there's not slavery today and the black people are all free.
I didn't say white people won. I said that individual Christian white people who owned slaves in the South, they benefited.
Yes, you're saying they benefited, but you can't say they benefited because they don't have slaves today.
They're dead today. It's irrelevant whether they have slaves or not.
No. When you benefit from something, you are what you are. You can pass it down to your generations. It's generations and generations.
I'm not talking about groups of people. I'm talking about individual people benefiting from it.
Okay, and I can say the same thing for the black people. They died too, but we still have freedom. We still have people that are free. We don't have any freaking slavery.
How is that relevant?
Because the people that were doing evil obviously didn't succeed. They did.
You know what I'm saying? Okay, what do you call it when you run a business from 18 years old till 70 and then you die in your home in your sleep and you're rich the whole time?
Okay, we can say they. Okay, we can
cherish life. You have family that loves you, and then you die in your sleep in old age. What do you call that? Do you call that succeeding, or do you call that failing?
I get what you're trying to say, and like I said, yeah, they probably succeeded back then. They don't succeed now.
That's all I'm saying.
What I'm trying to get you to understand is
they don't exist now. I'm talking about those people are an example of people who succeeded when they used the Bible for evil.
Right, but you're talking about past tense. The Bible speaks about present. The Bible speaks about strictly present, dude.
I'm sorry.
And you can prove me if I'm wrong, because all the stuff that's been going on in the Bible has been proven in this time and day.
So, I'm sorry, this is a complete pivot. Your claim was that if you use the Bible for evil, then it will not benefit you. I gave you an example, a historical example.
It will not
benefiting
benefit
somebody
you in this time and day.
They're not alive in this time and day. What are you talking about?
Well, my ancestors, black people, slaveries are not alive. The same slaves that were alive back then were not alive now.
Did the person
but yet
who died
still they benefited because they're out of slavery? I mean, we can just say they benefited because we know they're not in slavery no more. They're free, obviously. So if white people, you're saying that they didn't benefit because there's no more slave owners. But how could they benefit when they were doing evil to begin with? You can't benefit and have things in the present time and day and expect it to be all la again and you're doing evil. No, it's just not how life works.
So we're not talking about like some group of people benefiting or something. We're just talking about an individual person benefiting. All I'm talking about. Yes, I'm talking about something that happened in the past. An example of somebody using the Bible for evil and then benefiting.
Okay, so in your interpretation,
this is not hard to understand. I don't know where the trick is.
Okay, but your interpretation, let me get this right. Your interpretation is you're essentially saying that benefiting, the definition of benefiting is benefiting in a past. And essentially
it's just benefiting in your life.
So if I was to make money a month ago and I made $1,000 and I'm broke now, you would say I benefited from that?
Well, I mean, maybe in the past you did, but not on a whole. No, probably not. But the point is that the slave owners.
Dude, that's the same concept. You're not.
No,
that's the same concept.
Why are you interrupting me again? I was answering your question. The point is that the slave owners benefited for their entire life, right?
What is their? They died. How do you have an entire life? Okay, so you're saying essentially up to their death, right?
Yeah, they lived a happy, rich, well-loved life.
Okay, what the Bible talks about is it says that essentially that evil doesn't last forever, meaning that even though evil might last, it only has a limited time to last. It's not going to last forever, and that's proven because we see this in today's culture where slavery and evil. Because evil people go to jail. Like that's just proven. That's a fact.
Did Donald Trump go to jail?
But that's your opinion. Once again, you're going based off your feelings, your opinion.
No, I just asked the question. Did Donald Trump go to jail?
But what evidence do you have that Donald Trump is evil?
Well, in a civil court,
or is that your opinion? Once again, are we going back?
Do you want me to answer your question? In a civil court of law, he was shown to be liable for sexually assaulting a woman.
Okay, so he was doing evil in a sense. You're saying
that he didn't go to jail.
Okay, but do you repent for? Do you believe in repenting for your sins?
Do you think that sexually assaulting a woman is evil?
Oh yes, 100%.
Okay, and so then you agree that there are people who have sexually assaulted women who are not in jail. So you don't have to go to jail in order to be evil.
I mean, that's essentially saying, how long does Donald Trump do? How long do you think Donald Trump has in office?
He has another 2-ish years.
Okay, and we can say that in the Bible
is that Donald Trump did not go to jail despite being evil. So saying evil is temporary, it doesn't last forever, and the proof is that evil people go to jail. Not all evil people go to jail.
But you don't know that because you don't know how long it would take for somebody to go to jail once they've done evil.
Donald Trump's not going to jail for sexually assaulting a woman. It's not going to happen.
Okay, so you're saying, let me tell you this. So you're saying
it's past the statute of limitations.
Right. So if I was to go out here and do a murder case and not go to jail the next day, but go to jail a month later, you're going to say that, oh, I wasn't doing evil and I benefited from evil, even though it's been the next day I haven't went to jail.
Didn't say that. I was just giving a
counter.
counterexample to your claim.
But it's all coming back to what I'm saying. And if you can listen, if you look and you take what's going on in today's world, you will see that evil people do not strive. I mean, what you're trying to say is in the whole
sure?
assumption, I am pretty sure that your opinion is what you
Really?
believe. You're not in charge of any of this. Listen, you're not in charge of any of this.
You think that the people in charge are, you think that the people who are in charge are good?
Dude, you're giving an opinion of why you feel like the person is not.
I haven't offered any opinions, by the way.
So if Jesus was to come down and you felt like that, if you felt like Jesus wasn't good, you're going to say, oh, he's not good.
I haven't
We
offered
don't
any
need him in here.
opinions, by the way. I don't know why you keep saying opinion. I've given
Because,
you like,
dude, your
I've
whole
given you
belief
evidence,
is
for
an
example.
opinion.
Oh, I don't even think you know what my belief is.
You just said you were atheist.
I am an atheist. That's not an opinion. That's a fact about my mind. I don't know if you just swallowed your microphone on accident, but I can't hear you anymore.
Listen, whether it's
Okay,
I don't know what you believe in, but obviously you're not able to prove yourself because you're saying one thing and you're interpreting. No, you're saying one thing and you're interpreting another. So how can anybody debate you when your interpretations
Can you give me an example of me
being
being dishonest in that way?
Yes, you're a psychopathic delusion. You're basically using psychological shit like a narcissist. Basically, is what you are. And if somebody, hey, look, if somebody ever said you're a narcissist,
can you give me an example of like me being a narcissist?
That's what the best example.
What's the example? What's the evidence for this claim?
You know the example. Look it up.
Well, I know what narcissism is. I'm asking what's the evidence for this claim.
I'm not a definite. Listen, I'm not going to explain to you a narcissistic person when you are
I know
one.
what a narcissistic person is. I want the evidence that I am one.
Right, and if you are a narcissistic person, you wouldn't believe that you were a narcissist.
Yeah, so I could say the same thing about you then. You're a narcissist,
Because a
even though you
narcissist
don't
would
believe
never.
you're a narcissist.
No, not necessarily. Because I would tell you.
See how I can just do the same thing that you did? I can just say
Dude,
no.
if I was a psychological liar and a psychological hypnotizer and a narcissist, dude, I would come out and say it. I wouldn't hide it from the world.
Wait, hold on. You just said that narcissists don't think that they're narcissists. But now you said that you would say it? How would you say it if you were one? Also, apparently I'm a hypnotizer. You were getting
the whole point that I can give you is that I'm not a narcissist.
Sleepy. Are you getting sleepy yet?
See, and this dude doesn't want to admit anything, guys. So when you come on here to debate, he's got two interpretations. He's a psychological liar and a narcissist, so you can't really debate him.
The ad hom is crazy, by the way.
Just for anybody that wants to know, heads up. Even if Jesus was to come and show up in your face, bloop, you would not believe shit. You probably would go to hell. Probably wouldn't go. This guy, he's been reincarnated probably a million times. Yeah, we know
Christians
who you
don't
are,
believe in reincarnation, by the way.
Bro, if you don't believe in anything, you don't believe in yourself. So
Christians
essentially, you're going to go out here.
I believe in plenty of things, but the crash out is legit hilarious.
You probably would go shoot up. You probably go shoot up a school.
That's crazy. You know what? I actually see why people kick you out because you say crazy things, and when you get destroyed in the debate,
dude, you don't believe in good nor evil. How do you believe in God and you don't believe in good nor evil?
Sure, I do. You never even asked me whether or not I believe that good exists.
No, you don't, because you're not using good in your own.
What do you mean? No, you don't. You haven't even asked me. You don't even know my position on it.
Okay, what do you do that? Okay, let me ask you something. Are you a type person that goes out and throw trash on the fucking ground, or do you actually pick trash up?
No, I pick trash up.
And you can prove that?
I can't prove it to you because I don't have a video of me doing it. But
okay,
how else do you want me to prove it?
In a sense, like what I'm trying to tell you about Jesus. Jesus can't prove it to you, but he can tell you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not making it any better. You're using your own logic for what you believe. You can't use your own logic for what you believe. I'm giving you an example.
Are you okay, my guy?
No, are you okay?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Are you?
No, you're not. No, you're not, because you don't know your own logic.
I do.
That you're using.
Can you tell me what the 3 laws of logic are?
I'm not going to read you the definition because we're like,
so
you're trying to throw it. No, what you're trying to do, he's trying to throw it off topic. That's what a narcissist does.
If you want.
Sure.
Yeah. So the 3 laws of logic, the classical 3 laws of logic, are the law of identity, that A is A, the law of non-contradiction, that A can't be both true or A can be both true and false simultaneously in the same way, and the law of the excluded middle, that a proposition is either true or it's false. There's nothing in between. Those are the three laws of classical logic. So I've just you know, annihilated you again, bent you over.
No,
and,
you didn't,
made
because
a
I'm gonna tell you
pancake out
why
of
you didn't. I'm gonna tell you why you didn't. Because this
seems
whole
like you're just
time,
struggling this whole time. I get it.
no, this whole time I've been using logic.
I get it, my guy. You've been trying to use logic, but you haven't actually been able to follow the arguments that I've been making. And look, I know it's hard. I know it's hard.
I'm the one that's using logic. You're not losing, dude.
I know that it's hard when you were told as a kid that you should ignore logic, you should ignore learning, and instead just read the Bible.
You
and
have
your life
your
will be
own
good.
different
But
logic,
I've given
dude.
you, unfortunately, I've given you counterexamples to all of the claims that you've made, and now you've just resorted to name calling because you feel that you've been annihilated.
So let me ask you a question then. Let me ask you just one question. Do you believe in faith?
Do I believe that faith exists, or do I have
No.
faith?
Do you believe in faith?
I don't have faith. I don't have faith. No.
So the word faith, you don't believe in none of the definition of faith.
I don't know what you mean by believe in a definition. Like, I think that you have faith. I believe
Okay,
that
so
you have
no.
faith.
Let me ask you something. Can somebody have faith?
Sure.
Okay, so do faith exist?
As a form of belief, yeah, sure.
So believing that something is going to happen and that you're going to do something is a form of belief?
Believing that, sorry, repeat that?
Believing that something is going to happen or believing that you can do something is a form of belief?
Well, yeah, that would be a belief because you said believing that something is going to happen. Of course it's going to be a belief.
Okay, so if I believe I'm going to do something and I believe I believe basically just what I just said. If I believe that I'm going to do something, isn't that a form of faith?
Not necessarily. You could have evidence that supports it, and then it's not faith.
How is
it's
that
just
not a
rational
form
belief.
of faith? That's
I just
literally
explained
the
it to you, but you
definition
weren't
of faith.
listening. I just explained it to you, but you weren't listening, so I can explain it again. It's not necessarily the case that because you have a belief, it's therefore faith. If you have a belief for some evidenced reason, namely that you have some reason to think it's true, maybe some empirical data or some logical argument or something like that, then you now have a reason to think it's true. And so it's not faith, it is just a rational belief.
Okay, so in a sense of believing something is not faith, right?
Not all beliefs are faiths.
Okay, so you can believe in something, but that's not faith, is what you're saying.
A belief
How
is
is
merely
that?
an attitude.
How is that possible?
Yeah, a belief is merely an attitude towards a proposition. So it's just like a position that you
What is
take
faith? What
regarding
is
whether
faith?
something is true. I mean, if you
No,
trust
no,
the
no.
Bible, I'm answering. If you trust the Bible as a definition, then faith is belief in those things unseen, right? Something like that. And so
But you're
I
still
take,
believing at the end of the day, so what is the difference?
I take it to mean that faith is belief without reason, without evidence. And so the point is faith is a kind of belief, but not every belief is faith. There are, all squares are rectangles, not all rectangles are squares, that kind of thing.
Okay, so if you got shot and you believe that you're still going to live, that's not having faith, right? Oh yeah, I can't hear you. Your mic's cut out.
Oh, my bad. Like, it depends on your reasons for believing that you're going to live. Like, if you got shot in the foot, then you would have good reason to believe that you're going to live because you have evidence that getting shot in the foot is not usually lethal.
But that doesn't make it true. That doesn't make it necessarily true.
It doesn't have to be true in order for it to not be faith.
Right, but my conclusion is people that use this logic, they have some type of faith.
People that use what logic have faith?
The same logic that you're supposed to use for every definition, for every alphabet, for every word. This is the same logic that I'm talking about.
How does
But
logic imply faith? What's the argument there?
Because I'm saying that simply if somebody believes that they're like, if they got shot and somebody believes, then they're essentially using faith. In other words, you can have faith and faith does exist. So you can't say that faith doesn't exist.
Wait, how is that faith if you believe that you're going to live? Like, it could be faith, but it doesn't have to be.
How is that possible if you're believing that you're going to live?
If you have evidence that it is likely that you will live, then it wouldn't be faith.
Okay, but we see this all the time with people who get shot and they believe that they're going to still live.
Yeah, they might have faith. Look, I don't know what's hard to track here. The point I'm saying is that it can be the case that if you believe you're going to be shot if you believe that you're going to live despite being shot and you have no reason for that belief, then you might call that faith. But if you do have a reason for that belief, then it wouldn't be faith.
Okay, so if it's not faith, then you can't say that essentially faith is not a real and definition word. You're saying
I never said that. In fact, I agreed with you that faith exists.
You're in the middle. You're in the middle. You don't know if faith is real or not, and I'm telling you that it's a definition
I agreed with you. I agreed with you that faith exists.
By logic, it's a real word.
I don't know what that means by logic. I'm not saying it's a word. I'm saying that faith is a concept that actually exists.
It's not a concept. It's an actual word, though. It's not
Words
a
point towards concepts, dumbass. Like, what are you doing?
No. What I'm trying to get you to understand is it's a actual living word.
How are words alive?
Like, how are you saying to me right now about everything else? I mean, like, come on, dude. Like, let's not be dumb here.
I don't know what it means for a word to be alive.
Basically, what I'm saying is you're making it seem like faith is just a concept, theory, whatever you want to call it.
It's a concept, yeah.
But would you say belief is a concept?
Yeah, it's another concept.
Okay, so what is a word that's not a concept?
Well, so look, all words, not all words, but most words point to concepts.
No. Why do we have words that are
concepts? Why are you interrupting me? I'm answering your question. Look, so most words, nouns at least, maybe some adjectives, are about concepts or are just described concepts, but sometimes those concepts point to like concrete things. So like there is the concept, like there's a word, fire truck. That word points to a concept. You know, when I say fire truck, you think of a thing. This is like the concept of a fire truck. But that concept is about a thing that exists concretely in the real world, right? But not all words are about concepts that point toward things that exist concretely in the real world. For example, if I say 5, you think of a number that's a concept, but the concept 5, there's not like a 5 that exists out there in the real world. It's not like a concrete thing. So in that case, you just have a word that refers to a concept that doesn't point to a concrete object. Faith would be an example of a word that points to a concept that doesn't point to a concrete object. Does that make sense?
Okay, so okay, I guess you got something going on here, but in other sense, you can't disagree that there's no other definition than what the definition already is. So if we were to say, or in a sense, no, I'm gonna give you an example.
Can you rephrase,
so if
please?
if we were to say, oh, you believe, but you don't believe, then you can't say you don't believe because there's only one belief. There's only one belief.
What?
So yeah, like I just said, if you say you believe in something, but then you don't believe in, say for instance, if it's the same thing, we're talking about the same concept, right? And you say, well, I believe in this, but I don't believe in this. That's not possible because if you believe in something, you can only believe in something and that be it. You can't just not, you know what I'm saying? You can't have two concepts for the same thing. So and essentially that's what I'm trying to say. But
I have no
in your
idea what you
word,
just
no,
said.
listen. In your word, you're using the Bible and you're saying, well, the Bible has two, you're saying the Bible has one concept, but you're using two different words. Or no, actually, I'm sorry. You're using one word for two different concepts in the Bible. That's not what I'm trying to say. That's not possible. That's not possible.
When did I say that?
Because you're using evidence that proves me back to what I'm saying.
What do you? I don't understand anything that you just said in the last 90 seconds. Do you want to try again?
Okay, so if I say, if you say, like a book, like the book, like I just said, if you say, well, I believe in this text, but I don't believe in that text, how can you believe in one text of the book, but not believe in the other text of the book if you're saying you believe in the Bible? That doesn't make any theoretical sense.
I agree. You can't, which is a problem for you because you believe in the Bible, but you think that the story about the Amalekites, I'm in the middle of answering. I don't know why you're talking. You believe that the story about the Amalekites is not what it actually says, but it's something metaphorical or something subliminal. But about a different part of the Bible, you think that it's what it's actually about, and it's not subliminal. So it seems like you're doing the thing that you just said you can't do.
No, it seems like you don't have the consciousness for knowledge. That's what it seems. I mean, when it comes down to doing your research, you're no problem with that. But you're too you don't have the brain power to say, oh, this is. See, you can't. No, let's just agree on one thing.
This is so funny.
Okay, if I'm wrong, right? If I'm wrong, then I know I'm right.
You're
about
hilariously
this.
wrong.
Okay, if I'm not right about this, then you're wrong all the way. And if I'm right about this, you're wrong, dude. If I'm not wrong, if I'm not right, then you have to prove it to me. So let me tell you this. We can agree that. Hang on, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second here. Hang on, I gotta put my phone on charger.
Yup, go ahead.
Hang on, give me 1 second.
Take your time.
Doggone it. No, I'm trying to put my phone in charge. I'm sorry. Hang on.
I know you said that twice now.
Damn it. All right, here. So we can agree that okay, so if you were to take the Bible, right?
Hold on. You have to justify this claim that, like, clearly I don't have the brain power to understand what you're talking about. Please justify that claim.
Okay, reinstate what do you not have the brain power for?
I don't know, man. You were just gibberating. But you said it.
How am I gibbering? What did I say? Okay, so what did I say?
I have no idea. That's because you were gibberating. All of it. Literally everything in the last 300 seconds.
Dude, I said if you have the brain power to not believe in a sense, but you have the brain power to believe, are you just going to not believe?
I have no idea what that question means.
Okay, so if I told you something,
brain power to have a belief.
if I told you something that was true and you took it in a different light, or you took what I said in a different way, does that not put it in a different sense of what I was actually trying to say? That's
if I misunderstand you, then yeah, I would not be understanding what you were trying to communicate.
So we can agree that misunderstanding is a number one thing in society that we have going on, right? I mean,
yes, that's what's currently happening in this conversation, and it's not me doing the misunderstanding.
Okay, so if that's possible, then it's possible for you to misunderstand the Bible.
Yeah, I was just reading the words, right?
Right.
The words are pretty explicit.
Right, but I feel
there's not
like
really
you're
any room for misunderstanding here.
But how do you know you're not misunderstanding if you can't really interpret what he was trying to say?
Sure, fair point. How do you know that you're not misunderstanding?
I know I'm not misunderstanding because of the simple fact, if you look at the text, if you can actually interpret good for good instead of good for evil, then you can get somewhere. But it seems like to me, you can't interpret from, like, for instance, if I was to tell you something good, it seems like you would take it the wrong way. Or if I was to tell you, essentially that's what you're saying.
I don't think that you've been right a single time when you've said essentially what you're saying is this. I don't think you've been right a single time when you've made that kind of claim. So do you really trust your own ability to understand what I've been saying?
Dude, if you're taking everything I'm saying in a different way, you're not going to be able to interpret the way you're like. I can't really. I mean, what I'm trying to get you to understand is the Bible. When the Bible talks about these things, it's talking about it in a code of law, dude, meaning like it follows the literal living law system that we follow today. You cannot prove me wrong that the Bible does not follow the living law system that we are living today. If you do something bad, you get bad in return.
Well, so like there's a law, there's a
now if you do something, no, listen, we have cops for a reason. Now if you
why
do
are you
something
interrupting me?
Okay, what I'm saying is
there is no. If you're interrupting me and then you say okay, you recognize that you interrupted me. You don't keep going, right? So in the Bible, it allows for the ownership of slaves, but we don't allow slaves anymore. So we're not following the legal recommendations of the Bible, right? There's not like some law code that we're following in the Bible that is corresponding to what we're doing today. It's just not the case.
Okay, so the Bible talks about slavery doesn't mean it appreciates the fact that slavery existed. It talks about slavery because it was in that time. Well, I'm kind of confused on why.
Yeah, it doesn't just talk about slavery. It actually tells the Israelites how to do slavery. It condones slavery. It says you should get your slaves from here. Here's how to treat them. Here's what you're allowed to do to them. Here's what you're not allowed to do to them. And what you're allowed to do to them includes beating them.
Okay, and so I'm gonna go back to the code of law, or not, I'm gonna just say the law of nature, or whatever you want to call it. Would you not pertain that into the governmental law of that we are slaves for the government?
No, we're not slaves.
Would you use that in that sense?
No.
So you can interpret the Bible saying, but you can't interpret today's living world.
Well, look, the reality is that the Bible tells you exactly what kinds of slavery they're talking about. They're talking about owning people as property.
If you can't interpret the Bible, you're not looking at...
Why are you interrupting me again? What are you doing? So in the Bible, it explicitly says, you can own people as property. These are the slaves that you can own as property. However, the government does not own us as property. We are not property. I can leave whenever I want.
We are property. You're saying we're not property to the government? What proof do you have of that?
Well, I can leave whenever I want.
No, you can't. Because you're still under the...
I literally have. I used to live in Europe.
But you don't own this world. So you're not... You are property.
I don't have to own the world to not be property.
You are property.
I mean, maybe you're property, but I'm not.
if you look at all the stuff that you have in the system, you're obviously property to the government. You pay property taxes. You pay property taxes to the government.
No, I don't.
You are
I don't
property.
own a home.
Prove me that you're not property to the government. If you could go okay, so if I have land, I have a ass of land, and you're going everywhere you want to on my land, you're telling me you're not my property, even though you're on my land?
Property. No, if I'm on
But
your land,
you're on my land, so you're on my property. You're my property.
Me being on your land doesn't make me your property.
So if I have something on my land, that's not my property?
There can be things that are your property that are on your land, but just because something is on your land doesn't mean it is your property.
Okay, but what if you're okay? So if I have cows on my land,
crazy.
No. If I have cows on my land that are registered to me, you're telling me those cows are not my property?
No, they are yours because they're registered to you, not because they're on your land.
Okay, and you're registered to the government.
There is no registration
you can prove me
system.
Otherwise, you can't prove me wrong.
If I was the property of the government, I couldn't have left.
Dude, you're
Do you have a response to the argument?
To the government,
no?
You pay government. You can't do if the government tells you you have to pay taxes.
I literally left the country.
But you abide by the governmental law. So if you're not property to the government, Donald Trump.
Wait, did Donald Trump sell me to somebody else when I moved away from the United States?
You're on Donald Trump's property, buddy.
Donald Trump doesn't own the United States, buddy.
He's the president. I mean, he doesn't own it, but I mean, you're still on the property that he's literally ahead of. So, I mean, what do you want?
I mean, that's not true. States can own property that the federal government doesn't own property.
Right, but whether he owns it or not.
Individuals can own property that the states don't own. This is called private property, in fact.
Okay,
and I'm currently on private property, so I'm not the property of the government. And even if I were on federal property, that doesn't make me federal property myself, just because I'm on federal property. Being on somebody's property doesn't make you their property. What are you doing?
I'm not. What do you mean I'm doing it? If you look at if you go look this up, it's going to say that you're property to the government. And on top of that, you have Social Security. You have Social Security. And your Social Security literally proves why you're
property of the U.S. government. Let's just type this in. No, U.S. citizens are not the property of the U.S. government. What are you doing?
Right. So if they wanted to they wanted to come get you for war, right? You wouldn't be, by law, you wouldn't be able to get drafted. Are you saying that you can't get drafted for war?
I mean, it depends on how old you are. No,
I mean, if you're not if you're not property,
I couldn't get drafted for war. No.
How? If you're not property,
I have celiac disease.
No, that's a fucking lie.
No, I do.
No, there's no way.
You don't think I have celiac? Hold on 1 sec. Stay on the phone.
No. Doesn't take the way that you could still get drafted. You know, this dude, bro, doesn't take the living fact that you still could get drafted for war, dude. Like, you're still property to the government, whether you think or not. You're not on your land. You never owned anything. This is not your land. You're always going to be property to the government. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Okay, so if I don't have celiac disease, why the hell would I buy this shitty gluten-free Pop-Tart imitation?
Oh, maybe you like Pop-Tarts.
This is a Pop-Tart imitation. It's gluten-free. Why the hell would I have these gluten-free, crappy peanut butter crackers?
That costs more.
You like peanut butter crackers? Dude,
no,
you can like peanut butter crackers.
Do you know what celiac disease is?
No, I've never heard of it a day in my life.
Celiac disease is an autoimmune disease that triggers your own immune system to attack your small intestine when you eat gluten. And because of that, I can't eat things that have gluten in them. And because of that, I couldn't be drafted.
Okay, but you're not taking it away of the fact that if you didn't have that disease,
that's fucking crazy. So you're right. You're right. You are property of the U.S. government, but I'm not.
How does that work?
Well, because I can't get drafted and you can.
That doesn't make sense.
It does. I can't get drafted. You can. So I guess you're property. I'm not.
Okay, so why do you pay property taxes?
Nope, I don't own property. So
do you work?
Yeah.
So you're essentially some type of property?
No, working doesn't mean that you're property. What are you talking about?
You're essentially some type of property if you're working for a company.
Wait, who owns me? Oh, I don't work for a company. I work for myself.
Okay. So doesn't mean that you own anything. I mean, listen, you're
acting
like
collapsing in real time.
No. You're adding like a big fish here, but you're a small fish that can be eaten by a bigger fish.
What do you mean I'm acting
So what I'm
like a
trying
big
to
fish?
tell you
I'm just telling you I don't pay property tax. I don't work for a company. I have celiac disease, so I can't get drafted by the U.S. government. So I'm not U.S. property. Sorry.
Okay, so essentially, you're just living in you own everything, huh?
I don't own everything. No.
Okay, so who's
I don't own you.
Okay, so I mean, it's just nowhere around it. Dude.
By the way, it's crazy that you're trying to justify slavery
listen,
in the Bible.
This is the thing,
like
dude.
That's crazy.
You can't prove to me that the Bible doesn't use it doesn't pertain to the law today. You can't prove to me it doesn't.
Oh well, I just did, because in the Bible it says you can own slaves, whereas in the law today it says that you can't.
It doesn't say that you can own slaves.
Yeah, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it does. Want me to show you the verse?
Are you interpreting that it does?
Nope, it just says that you can own slaves. 1 sec, let me pull it up. I think it's Leviticus 25. Yeah, it's Leviticus 25. So Leviticus 25 Bible Hub. I'll pull it up and I'll show you. Oh, I don't want Bible Hub. I want the, what is it? Bible Gateway. I just like that one more. Same translation though. I just like the interface more. Okay, so it's Leviticus 25. We're going to go to Leviticus 25, verse 44. Your male and female slaves are to come from the nations around you. From them you may buy slaves. You may also buy some of the temporary residents living among you and the members of their clans born in your country, and they will become your property. So yeah, the Bible condones slavery.
In a sense, you're saying that as far as a business, because in this time of era, we would say that if you own a business, you can essentially have employees, right? Correct?
Employees aren't slaves. Turns out.
So that's essentially, but back in their time, they used the word slaves as to refer to employees.
No, so employees can't be bequeathed to your children against their will, whereas according to the slavery that they were referring to here, it says you can bequeath them to your children as inherited property and can make them slaves for life, but you must not rule over your fellow Israelites ruthlessly. I love that little bit that it adds on.
Okay.
The point is that employees are not slaves for life. They can quit.
But essentially, how are you going to make it if you have to work? You still have to be a slave in order to get money.
Being an employee isn't slavery, it turns out. It's voluntary.
How is it not? You're still working for somebody.
Or you're working for yourself. Wait, so am I a slave to myself? Because I work for myself.
Okay, well, you could say that you could say you work for yourself, but somebody's still getting a little percent of that business.
Yeah, sure. That's the cost of business. That doesn't mean that I work for somebody else.
Okay, so you pay the cost of business.
That doesn't mean I'm a slave. What are you talking about?
You are under the Slavery Act because you have to pay the cost. You have to pay the cost.
If you want to be service, I have to pay for a service, and that makes me look. Am I a slave to Jimmy John's because I go and I buy a sandwich from Jimmy John's?
In essential, you have to work to pay your way.
Fucking stupid.
Dude, I mean, if you want to look, you can say you're not a slave.
Thing I've ever heard.
You're not going to say that you're slavery literally because they're going to say you're free. But at the same time, in a literal sense, if we're using the same thing that was brought back in the day, working.
Do you think that I'm a slave in the same way that buying someone as property and passing them down to your children for life is a slave? Do you think that that's the same kind of slave?
It's the same concept of slavery.
Okay, you're just an idiot. Like, I don't have anything else.
It's the same concept as having black people and white people as slave owners. It's the same concept.
It's
you
literally
typically
not.
have a business
Actually,
and you have employees.
So the slave owners and the black people who were enslaved in the the antebellum South or whatever, those people absolutely were slaves in the sense of the Hebrew Bible because they were owned for life. They could be passed down as inherited property to children. That's exactly what it says in the Bible. And in fact, this is one of the verses that was used to justify slavery, by the way.
And you can do the same thing.
And the point is I'm not that. I can't be passed down as inherited property. I'm not a slave for life. I can leave whenever I want. I'm not a slave. So
sure,
there's an example. There's an example of allowed legal practices in the Bible, which are not allowed legal practices today.
Okay, so you're saying in a sense that the way the Bible interprets slavery, because we're talking about a different time and point here, in a sense of when the Bible interprets slavery, it's not the same as in today's world, is what you're saying.
It's the same as it was in like the pre-Civil War era South, but it's not the same as whatever you're calling slavery today in the United States.
I'm just saying it was the same concept. I'm not saying it's the same literal
It's
sense
not the
of
same
slavery.
concept. It points to a different.
It is the same concept because you're
No,
still
it's
working
not.
for you're still working for motherfuckers.
Working for somebody is not the same as being a slave, because when you work, you get paid.
Okay, and so you don't think slaves get
Did you just
paid?
swallow your mic? Because
Okay, and if you look in the Egyptian text,
you still sound like you just swallowed your mic.
Okay, but in Egypt,
You keep saying okay, but you're not fixing anything.
in Egypt, slaves
Fix your
got-
mic. I can't hear you.
Yeah, right, bro. This dude.
Okay, good. Now I can hear you.
Okay, so
Continue.
in Egypt, people were slaves and they still got paid for their duties.
No, they weren't slaves.
They had slaves in Egypt that were getting paid
Then
for
they
their
weren't
duties.
slaves.
How it literally says they were slaves
Who?
in Egypt. If you
Who?
look in
Who were the
Egypt,
slaves?
it says they had the people that were in Egypt that were slaves in Egypt.
Okay, so where's the source
So are
that
you
you
saying
have,
are
you
you
have
saying
Egyptian
that there were
slaves who
no
got
slaves
paid?
in Egypt?
No, they just didn't get paid if they were slaves.
Yes, they did.
Slaves
Look
don't
up
get
the
paid.
Egyptian slave. So you saying Egyptian slaves didn't get any materialistic things or anything in
They got fed
uh,
in the same way that you feed a horse.
where can you prove that?
That Egyptians got fed?
No, I'm saying
Or that Egyptian
can
slaves
you
got
prove
fed?
can you prove that Egyptians did not get
This
something
is
in
your-
return for their
This
services?
is your claim. You have to prove it.
I'm saying I just said that
Yeah, okay, what's the
Egyptian
proof?
people
What's the proof that it happened?
because it literally states that they had
Where?
slaves
Where
in
does it
Egypt.
say? Yeah, they did have slaves. Where does it say that they were paid?
You just said they had slaves.
I agree that there were slaves in Egypt. I want the proof that they
Right.
were paid.
It literally states it.
Where?
In the religious Egypt, and if you look up religion in Egypt, it literally states it. If you look
Where
up
does it-
Google,
okay,
it
where?
literally
Where?
the science. If you're a
This is your
scientist and you
source.
did scientific
This
evidence,
is your source. Where's the source? Where's the evidence?
look it up.
Wait, okay, so I'd love for you to tell me like what sources you've read, just so that I can know that you've actually
I
checked.
don't even have to give you a source. If you look the
Yeah, you do. It's
information
your
up,
claim.
it
It's your
literally
claim. You
states
do have
it
to give me a source.
scientifically proven.
You do have to give me a source. It's your claim.
So I have to give you a source for something that's scientifically proven.
Yes, if you're making a claim and I don't believe you, you have to give me the source. That's how
But
the
you
burden of
just
proof
said there were
works.
slaves in Egypt.
I agree that there were slaves in Egypt. I don't agree that they were paid.
You don't agree, so you don't agree that they were getting something in return for their services.
Well, yeah, I don't agree that they were getting paid any sort of compensation. No.
But you said they were getting fed, so that is
Yeah,
some type of
That's
compensation.
not. No, it's not compensation. That's
It's the
necessary for them to
same
continue to
literal
be
sense
slaves.
Of getting fed, like getting fed is
Okay,
getting
so
paid.
now we've
I mean,
moved the goalposts from they're getting compensation to them getting fed. Look, when you feed a cow, are you giving the cow compensation?
you're giving the cow something it needs, right, to survive.
Yeah, so that it can continue being your slave.
Okay, in a sense, you're getting the
That's
same
not-
thing.
that's not
You're getting the same
compensation.
thing, but it's the same
It's
logical.
literally
thing.
not. It's literally not.
It's not. It's
No,
not.
it's not.
Bro. How is it not?
Because if you just feed someone enough to, or feed something enough or someone enough to be able to do the work that you demand of them, you're not giving them compensation for the value that they're producing.
Okay, so we're
That's
going
what-
off
that's what a
different
wage
logic.
is.
So are we just going to keep going off different logic that's basically the same thing? Or are we just going to keep...
I guess we are, in the sense that I'm using logic and you're just...
And so you
saying
just admitted to
words?
going off different types of logic that are the same thing.
No, I said that I'm using logic and that you're just spewing words.
So until you could prove to me that different types of logic is not the same thing, then I'm never
I
going to
don't
believe
even know
you.
what
because
that sentence means.
until you can prove to me that different concepts or whatever you're trying to say is not the exact same thing, then there's nothing that you... Yeah,
Wages are compensation for value produced. Wages are not goods offered to ensure that you can keep producing value.
Okay, so you're saying that...
wages are not the same thing as food.
So you're saying that goods could not have been wages back then, in a sense.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that wages are compensation for value produced. Food,
Okay, so
getting fed,
what is the
if you're a
fucking
slave,
difference?
yeah, I'm telling you the difference. One is in proportion to the value produced. The other is to ensure that you can keep producing value.
Okay, so you're saying in a sense, me getting fed to live is totally different than me getting money to buy more materialistic shit. It's the same. It's different concepts, same
Yes,
shit.
yeah, no, they're completely different concepts, exactly. Because the point
They're not
is when you
completely
get
different
paid,
because they're the same logic.
no,
they're the same thing.
Not. They're not. And the reason why they're
Just in a
different is
different
because when you
sense.
get paid a wage, you get paid that wage because of the value that you're producing, and the wage is intended to give you some share of the value that you've produced. When you get fed while you're a slave, there is no expectation that your wage or lack thereof is somehow related to the amount of value that you've produced. Rather, all that's happening is that you are given the necessary conditions so you can keep producing value for your owner. It's very distinct. I don't know how much easier I can make this for
it just
you.
seems.
And by
No,
the way,
it
just for chat, the reason I haven't kicked him yet is because he came on and he said, "Oh, you're not going to kick me, right? As long as you stay." And I agreed. I'm not going to kick him as long as he stays a normal person. Which, you know, we've been close, but you know.
No, it's funny because I mean, you're essentially saying that different versions, and I'm just going to put it all in one nutshell. You're just saying about different versions of different things different versions of the same thing is totally different, and I don't understand how.
Well, they're not the same
For those
thing.
that cannot understand,
They're just not the same thing, right? One is a wage, the other is speed.
Okay, so if you have a black human and you have a white human, they're not human. One of them's not human. One of them, they're not the same thing.
I don't see how
just
that
because,
follows at all. But you were really quick to say
because
that
it follows
one of these
exactly
people
what I'm
is not
saying,
human.
though.
I don't think it
follows
does.
exactly. Okay, so if you have a black person and you have a white person, you can't take away the fact that they're still human. So in
So
a
feeding
sense,
someone is not a wage.
okay, and we can say money is not a wage if it becomes
A wage
powerless
is
tomorrow.
A wage is a particular kind of concept. It's a particular kind of agreement, right?
And money is a particular kind of concept and a particular kind of agreement.
And so wages
we can
can
go
be
on
given,
and on and on and on, and we can go on and on
wages
and
can
on.
be given in terms of money. They can be given in terms of a lot of things, but a wage is a
Right.
particular kind of agreement. Feeding a slave is not a particular kind of agreement.
Okay, but what you just said, a wage can be anything that's an agreement.
Yeah, it's a particular kind of agreement, right?
No, it can be anything that's an agreement.
No, it's not anything that's an agreement. It's a particular kind of
You
agreement.
just said it.
No,
Dude,
I said it's a
I'm
particular
proving you
kind
wrong.
of agreement. What?
You can't prove me wrong, buddy. You can't prove
Yeah,
me.
I can.
Look,
I can replay.
I'ma
I can
just
actually,
let
I actually
somebody
can.
else
I'm
come
gonna
up.
replay, but I gave you
If I
a
said
first.
you're actually-
particular kind
Hold
of.
on,
I'm gonna
you're-
mute you for a sec so I can replay the
You
audio that I
can't
can
prove me wrong, but
Yeah, that's right.
in money, if it
Feeding someone is not a wage.
you can't take away the fact that they're still human. So in
So
a
feeding
sense,
someone is not a wage.
okay, and we can say money is not a wage if it becomes
A wage
powerless
is
tomorrow.
A wage is a particular kind of concept. It's a particular kind of agreement. See how I said it's a particular kind of agreement, and then you said that I couldn't prove you wrong when you said that I said that money is any agreement, and see how I just proved you wrong?
And I said that food is a particular kind of agreement. You said money is a particular kind of agreement. So what other agreement can you use? And I said food, and you said no, I'm wrong.
So
because
you
I-
could pay somebody wages in food. That's possible. But feeding a slave is not a particular kind of agreement.
How is it not?
Because slaves don't agree to be slaves.
So if I don't agree to get paid in food, then that's not an agreement.
Yeah, it's not an agreement.
That is an agreement because an agreement is an
not. You
agreement.
didn't
You
agree
can't
to it.
determine. Listen, you
It's not
can't
an
determine
agreement.
an agreement.
An agreement means that all parties have agreed to it. Otherwise, it's not
So
an agreement.
now you're taking away of the meaning of an agreement. So we can go on and on
What
and
are
on
you
and
talking
on.
about? An agreement is the kind of thing that is agreed upon.
Okay, and so,
if
if
I
an
didn't agree
agreement
to
is
it,
an
then it's not agreed
agreement,
upon.
okay, if an agreement is an agreement, then however you get paid is a certain wage of getting paid. It doesn't make a
Only
difference
if you
whether it's
agree to
bread.
it.
It doesn't make a difference whether it's money or bread
Only
or
if you agree
anything.
to
It's
it.
just the same thing.
Only if you agree to it.
Okay, and so
And slaves
I'm
don't
wrong.
agree to
How?
it. Because slaves don't agree to be slaves, even if they're going to get fed. They don't agree to be slaves.
There was slaves that agreed to get fed instead of money.
Not the ones in the Bible.
Okay, and you can look this up though. You can prove me wrong, but I'm telling you, there were slaves that got paid not just money. I mean, you're trying to say that
Give
slaves
me
got
an
paid.
example of slaves that got paid.
I just said the ones in
Who?
Egypt.
You provided no evidence that this is like a real thing that ever happened.
It literally said that the slaves in Egypt were concealed gold and silver in payment.
The slaves in Egypt. Okay, where did it say this?
Did Egyptians not have jewelry? Did they not have materialistic things?
No, where did it say that the slaves were paid?
You can look this up. It's
Where's your source?
proven.
What is your source?
The artifacts in Egypt that the slaves that owned artifacts.
Name one.
We can go on and on. There's so many materialistic things.
Why can't you give me a single example of anything that you've said ever?
Okay, like
You're
the
just,
people
like,
in Egypt
vibing.
they were rewarded bread. They were rewarded earrings, gold
Rewarded?
earrings, jewelry. Yes. I mean, some
Rewarded?
slaves. Yeah, for
They were
being for
rewarded
doing.
bread.
Yes,
Did they agree to be slaves?
these are wages here. We're
Did
talking about.
they agree to be slaves?
How will we know that? How will we know that in the first place?
Well, if they agreed to some working arrangement where I work for you and you give me jewelry, that's not slavery.
What is it then?
It's employment.
So if I give you jewelry instead of money, you're telling me you're not a slave, even though you're doing slave duties?
There's no such thing as slave duties.
No. Let me get this straight. So you're saying,
What are you talking
if you're a
about?
slave, if you're a slave, that you have to be getting paid money
No, that's
instead
not
of
what I'm
jewelry
saying.
to be a slave.
You have a heart? No, I literally never said that. The point is if you make an agreement, if I come up to you, or if you come up to me, let's say I come up to you and I say, I will work for you if you give me jewelry. That's not slavery. That's employment.
Okay, but that's not essentially what was taking place.
Okay, so did they agree to be slaves? Did they agree to work for them, for the Egyptians?
The slaves were rewarded
Were the
and-
slaves in Egypt? Were they voluntarily there? Did they agree
No.
to work? Then it's not an agreement. There's no agreement to be had. It's not a wage
No,
agreement.
they weren't involved. No, I said they weren't voluntarily there, but
then they didn't
did
agree.
work,
There's no agreement there.
but they got paid on a wage.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they were given. If they weren't voluntarily there, then there's no wages involved. It's not a wage.
You can still give somebody in return.
It's not a wage
Listen,
if it's not
you can
part of an
still
agreement.
classify somebody as a slave whether they're under agreement or not. Where
No,
do you get this
no, it's
agreement
not.
from?
It's
Yeah,
because-
that is. You can.
If they agree to it, they're not a slave.
So if you're doing slave
They could
duties,
be an
and-
indentured servant. They could be a servant of some other kind. They could be a 9-to-5 employee, but they're not a slave.
So you're saying, in a sense, that you have to agree in order to not be a slave?
If you are working for somebody and you agreed to it, you are not a slave. If you are working for somebody and you didn't agree to it, i.e. you are there against your will, you are a slave.
What if you were forced to agree?
You can't be forced to agree.
How can you not? What if your life is on the line?
I mean, like, you could just lie and say, I agree, but that doesn't mean that you actually agree, right?
So you're saying that theoretically nobody can be forced to do anything.
Yeah, because it requires consent, right? And you can't force consent.
So if I forced your bitch to have sex with me, is that due to consent?
Did you just want to die by mod?
And I'm being logical here. See, this is where I'm going back to
No,
logic.
you're being a
You get
shit person.
confused.
Don't talk about my wife that way. What the fuck is wrong with you? Yeah, that was a justified case of you not being normal. What the fuck is wrong with you? He did want to just get kicked because he was getting his back blown out that whole time. But, like, dude's a Christian? Yeah, I mean, I guess it checks out. Dude's a Christian and he hates women. Yeah, he did just describe rape of someone that I care about. Like, what is wrong with him? Jesus. Anyway. Yeah, also room temp IQ. Like, he was really struggling to track, like, the entire time. Yeah, like, what's... Max. His name is Max is back, by the way. He wasn't a troll. No, I've encountered trolls. He wasn't a troll. Dude's IQ was just, you know... His IQ was... Let's just say it was bigger than what he has between his legs, and that's not saying much. Anyway, we have some super chats to read. Plenty of super chats to read, indeed. From Ms. Ollie with the 10 pounds. Turning water into alcohol isn't good. Neither is telling women to shut up in church and gaslighting them that they would be worse off without Christianity. You're right. It's not good. It's very bad, in fact. From Bill Ashby with the 2 pounds. Babies can't stab anymore. Twat waffle. True. Also, that's a good Britishism. From Pat in the chat with the $5. Caller, you don't kill people who are good. Children and babies during the flood. Bro, WTF did I do? True. The flood is also a good example, but that's like, you know, neither here nor there. Where is Jesus and whatnot? Great question. Tell him to come debate me. From helping MAGA deconstruct with the $2, this caller is queefing out gibberish. What a statement. What a statement. From Pat in the chat again with the $5. A big issue I have with the Bible is that it can be interpreted so many different ways. There are 40,000 worldwide denominations. This is not a flex. You're right. It's very bad. In fact, it looks kind of bad. From Real Marcus Holloway with the $10. Pro-slavery and pro-grape is not beneficial for anyone. True. From Macro Sue with the $2. Lunatic fails to comprehend anything. Clip title. Yep, that's it. Unless you guys got something better, we're going to have a clip title of Lunatic fails to comprehend anything, and the anything will be in all caps so that we can drive more engagement. From Christopher Sanford with the £5. The black people won, says the man who lives in a country where people get shot by law enforcement for the color of their skin. True. Very true. True indeed. From Dr. Fudge with the $10. This guy's mind would be blown by any historical knowledge about the post-Reconstruction American South because the ex-slaveholding class did win. They did reassert their antebellum social order. Sucks. Yeah, right? Like, it's like he doesn't know anything. Like, he knew less than nothing. From Ms. Ollie with the £2. Trump unalived schoolgirls. Well, allegedly. From Zero Gin with the $2. Caller constantly does a Mott and Bailey fallacy. He absolutely did. He also did a straw man fallacy the whole time. From Gretchen with the $5. Blitz, you need to unhinge your jaw to accommodate all the words this kid is trying to shove into your damn mouth. True. I have to pull like an alien and I have to have like a jaw within a jaw. From Christopher Sanford with the £5. All glory to the Hypnoblitz. Indeed, I can hypnotize you and I will. From Real Marcus Holloway with the $10. Blitz, how do I learn to be a psychological hypnotizer? Are there classes? First, you have to be a narcissist, actually. That's the first step. From Pensive with the $20. This guy sucks. Indeed, he does. So much so that... Oh, brother, this guy stinks! True. From JL Warren with the $2. Call the Wambulance. He did whine quite a lot. There's a lot of whining. From Adam Hurst with the $12. I did get shot in the chin. The bullet ricocheted off my chin. I had a cut in my chin, but that was it. I never felt I'd die because I knew I had no life-threatening injuries. Yeah, that's crazy. Also, I'm glad that you survived. From Game Master Flash with the $5. This guy doesn't know anything about anything. He probably has a manifesto that ChatGPT wrote him. I don't even think that he has that, actually. Like, I don't even think that he's gone that far. From Christopher Sanford with the £2. Most words are about concepts. Platonist Blitz. No, I still don't think concepts exist. From Dexter with the $2. Fire trucks aren't concrete trucks. Blitz. True. You got me there. That's probably what confused him, actually. From Pat in the chat with the $2. Caller skills. Yapping 10 out of 10. Comprehension 0 out of 10. He wasn't even a good yapper, right? From Whisper Jack with the £2. Guess can't cook, but is most definitely baked. True. Also, from Simple Programmer. Welcome to one. Thank you for joining the party. From Mr. Derek W with the $50 super chat, which is enormous. Thank you so much, Derek. Hi, Dr. Blitz. What do you think of the fifth dimension and its believers? I don't think that the fifth dimension exists, and anybody who believes in it usually doesn't know physics. That's the unfortunate reality, but it is the reality that we live in. From Dr. Fudge with the $5. Is this guy a sovereign citizen? It probably is. He'd probably be like, I can't be thrown in jail by the federal government because I am already the federal government's property. I'm already in jail. From Pat in the chat with the $2. Caller is a whack-a-mole of horrible arguments. He is indeed. From Atheist in a Foxhole with the $5. Might be a language barrier. Speak to him in his native language of Dur. It's rough. From Galur with the 400 Indian Indian rupees, I want to say, property, but I know this comes from a religio lobotomy usually seen in Muslims. Is this coming from a Christian concept of sin? How debilitating is this? Any correlation with other mental deformations due to blind belief? No, so this wasn't coming from a Christian concept of sin. He was saying that we're property because he wanted to justify the ownership of humans as described in Leviticus 25. That's why he had to bite that bullet. That's why he ended up going that way. From Orion Cooper with the $2, dude has the worst and dumbest ideas on everything. Indeed, it might actually be the worst and dumbest. From Tyrant of Ruin with the $2, only skilled slaves have been paid, like blacksmiths. Even then, is it really a wage if they're not there willingly? Is it really slavery? Or is it really a wage if they're not there willingly, right? It's not like it's agreed upon. They could have just paid them whatever, and the slave would have to do it. From Like a Wild Wolf with the 5 Canuck bucks, the people in ancient Egypt who were paid to build the pyramids were paid because they were skilled labor and citizens, not slaves. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. From Jail Warren with the $5, imagine being the kind of person who needs to equate employment with slavery in order to save their holy book from itself. Yeah, and by the way, based like you know, it sounded like he has like some like what is it capitalism or like something, what is it, what do they say, what are the like the delusional like unread Marxists say? They say something like wage, it's the phrase wage slavery, which like the idea behind wage slavery is fair, namely that we didn't agree to participate in a system where you have to work in order to survive, but that doesn't mean that you are not earning a wage because you do agree to the particular situation in which you earn that wage. Right? Now, it is the unfortunate reality that we exist in a system where you have to live in order, you have to work in order to survive in most cases, but that doesn't imply that you're a slave. From Galore with the 400 Indian rupees again, Dr. Blitz got an opportunity to teach a redneck labor theory of value. Kudos. Yeah, I don't think that he bought it though. From the ambiguity shows with the $5. Next time, set way more conditions on or parameters for not booting a guest instead of giving them an almost carte blanche. I thought he would be normal. I didn't think it would go like this. Right, like that was crazy. From Eat Some Shorts with the $20, reparations for Mrs. Dr. Blitz. True. Yes, Mrs. Dr. Blitz needs reparations for that horrible attack on her autonomy. From Laplace's Succubus with the $2, the cows I employ have a lot to say about this. I'm sure they do. From Game Master Flash with the $2, lunatic implies Max believes in the moon. True. I wonder if he doesn't. That would be hilarious. From Raw Espada with the $5, if being given food counts as wages, then Max's back thinks there was never slavery in America to begin with. This guest was fully a garbage person. No, I think he just thinks that it's all slavery all the way down. And from Matt Lloyd with the £2, did my earlier chats get hidden? I don't think so. I think I read several of them. Did I not? Oh, I actually don't. No, actually, they may have not made it through. Yeah, I don't see them anywhere. I don't know what happened. Sorry, Matt. And from Jail Warren with the $5, by the way, Blitz, if we get the chance, I hope to explore your Tarski argument and how it can be applied to refute tag when they invoke truth. That's exactly the point of the Tarski argument, by the way. That's the entire point, it's to address that. Right, I don't, Matt, I'm very sorry, I don't know why. Let me actually check something. Maybe I can pull it up somewhere else. Yeah, I can't. I don't know why. I don't know where it went. I'm sorry. Let me just double check, make sure I didn't miss any Venmos or anything like that. We have some Cash Apps to go over as well. From Shay Andrew with the balls. Every time I just read it. Well, I won't read anything else about it. Nobody knows. I'm sorry. From Shay again with another super chat. Two Cash Apps from Shay, and I appreciate it. But I'm not going to read anything that would provide identifying information. I'm so sorry. And Garrett, last name redacted, sent $5 on Venmo for, if those old-ass philosophers' arguments actually held up to history, then someone surely would have formalized it in modern day, so I'll just go read those works instead. That's at least my take on those old works. That's my view, too. No, she didn't say anything. I just don't want to dox her any more than I already did. I'm so sorry. I do this every time. Literally every time. Okay, so unfortunately, we didn't get a whole lot of guests because Max's back was up for an hour and a half. But you know what? We'll take it. It's going to go up on YouTube for you guys to enjoy afterwards. But it is time. It is 12:06. I have to go make myself a sandwich because I'm extraordinarily hungry. Also, I have some stuff that I got to take care of today. So I will see you guys tomorrow for some more debates. Same topic, same place, same time.